So we're gonna get going here in 5, 4, 3. Good evening, Canby. Welcome to the Canby City Council. Tonight we are starting our meeting off with a work session to discuss municipal court operations and a discussion with Judge Graff and Chief Tro. So as kind of background on this, as we move into it, so a couple of years ago, the decision was made to move municipal court operations from the police station here to City Hall. And then also that then parlayed into taking the city attorney out of handling some of the prosecutory pieces and whatnot, which has its own pros and cons. So in an effort to kind of help us decide whether or not we want to continue on with having a contracted city attorney or law firm to help us out, or to bring somebody in full time. I felt that it was probably appropriate to have Judge Graff come in and court team to kind of give us their opinion on operations and both the good and the bad, and hopefully we can use that to make our decision going forward. So I'll turn it over to Judge Graff. Eileen, did you have anything to add to my?
You pretty much handled my opening comments.
Okay.
So, yeah, very good.
In sync, look at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Judge, how are you?
Hello, Jeff.
I'm fine.
You know what, before we get going, I just wanted to acknowledge that we have the judge here, we have our city prosecutor here, Lucy. We have our court staff here, and then David Duffman is listening in, as is John Wentworth, District Attorney John Wentworth. They are listening into the meeting. So if you need to promote, if you want to hear from them, they are available. We'll just promote them. But, not sure exactly where the conversation's going to go, but all the players are here. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
So, good evening.
Good evening, Judge.
Unusual for me to be here when I'm not swearing somebody in, so I have to kind of settle into this new role. In the past, I had sent a couple of letters to the mayor relating back to what had happened about 1.5 years ago. And I just want to go over that briefly so you can get my sense of what was going on. At that point in time, that would be I guess probably late April, early May of, is that right? No, it would have been earlier than that, February, roughly, of 2022. The court was operating as a full-service municipal court, handling traffic matters and code matters, as well as a full criminal docket, which included all the Class A, B, and C misdemeanors, traffic crimes, that kind of thing. Just prior to court, one day, Joe Lindsay came in and told me that the city was going to send all its misdemeanors to the county. That was the first notice I received that was even being contemplated. And as it went on, I sent my first letter to the council through the mayor in March, I think it was, 2022, kind of laying out why I thought that was a really bad idea. And I know it's in the materials. I believe everybody's got the staff report that was prepared by the court staff. I think Jessica did a heck of a job putting this together, and I'm really glad she did. But in that first letter, I mentioned that I had concerns about the district attorney's office prosecuting all of the cases that we would prosecute here. And I also went on to elaborate about what I thought the role of the municipal court was, and what it had turned into when you took the criminal cases away. I want to read just a short piece out of the March 21st letter. It's the next to the last paragraph. And I think this paragraph speaks directly to what Mr. Lindsay had in mind when he transferred the criminal cases. It says, a municipal court should not be viewed merely as a vehicle to generate revenue. It is the first place a majority of people have ever contact with the legal system. It needs to be a full-service court with strong local backing. Reducing it to a traffic court affects its credibility in the community and opens the door to question the city's motives in having a court in the first place. And the reason I point to that paragraph is that that's the only thing I can figure out as to why this happened. I wasn't involved in any of the discussions. I wasn't involved in any meetings with council or anything else. It just happened. I met with the mayor. We had a great lunch. And I kind of laid it all out for him back then and made some predictions. And my predictions are outlined in my second letter of July 26th, 2023. And basically what I had said I thought would happen has indeed transpired to some extent, not completely, but to some extent. Approximately 20% of the cases that have been referred by the police department to the district attorney's office have not been prosecuted. I don't have a way of determining how many of those cases are for reasons other than not being worth the time and the effort and the expense to prosecute them. There are some cases where that's not the case, obviously, you know, mistakes in the investigation or whatever. But I do know that that's happened. I also know that the cases that I'm most concerned with, the theft 3 cases, I don't expect the council to be familiar with all of the ordinances or the state statutes, but theft cases are divided into 3 categories. There's a Class C misdemeanor, which is a theft in the 3rd degree, a Class A misdemeanor, which is theft in the 2nd degree, and then felony theft in the 1st degree. The Class C misdemeanors are the routine shoplifters. You know, the guy that pockets I don't know how they would pocket it, but a wrapped steak or something, or grabs some candy bars, or small level stuff. Those cases aren't being prosecuted, to the best of my knowledge. The criminal trespass cases that also fall into that low misdemeanor matter have the same fate. It's just not feasible to prosecute them all at the circuit level, apparently. Those are cases that directly affect the businesses and the people that are in the city of Canby. And I don't think it is stated in too strong a terms to say that if you're not prosecuting misdemeanor low-level theft cases, that it must be legal. In essence, that's a problem. But really, that's something that I foretold back then, and that's come to pass. My approach to the municipal court as a whole, and its reason for being, is to provide local control over some of this stuff. To make the people that commit the offenses in the city of Canby responsible to the city of Canby to take care of what they've done. And in the past, we've had many people that are, as part of a sentence in a criminal case with community service that they needed to perform, will take care of that at places like the Kiwanis or the community centers, directly benefiting the city. It also enables us to have a much more hands-on approach to dealing with the defendants. They know who they're going to talk to when they come back to court. If they haven't done something, they know it's going to be me sitting up there. It's not going to be some judge they haven't seen before. And it also gives us the ability to work with them toward turning things around a little bit. And we've had some success with people that, because they were involved at that level and in a court that size where you don't have the overwhelming numbers of people and, serial judges that rotate through, can pay attention to what they're doing, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do, and encourage them on a one-on-one basis to take the bull by the horns. And, right now, I'm not going to go into some of the other things that have happened. Senate Bill 110 has caused some issues for me because it takes my ability to deal with those smaller drug possession cases. It takes away my ability to work with those people to get them into treatment if that's what they need, or counseling if that's what they need. But this concept of having the entire package, I guess you would call it, absent felonies, we don't have jurisdiction to do felonies, is critical to the city itself, I think. We have, and still have, a team of people who know how to deal with those cases. What I call the infrastructure, for lack of a better word, is still in place. In fact, we had a jury trial scheduled for tomorrow that is not going to happen. He's going to be entering a plea. But my point is that even though these cases were taken away as of the 1st of July, 2022, we still have these cases because they come trickling in. We have warrants out for people that haven't shown up and haven't been picked up. We have 30, I think it was 35. Let me check here. I just got this from the court staff. We have 34 open probation files that we're still supervising, which means we still need prosecutors and defense attorneys to handle those matters. We also have a drawer full of outstanding warrants that could be picked up anytime that would be coming back into the court. So in terms of the infrastructure for that criminal prosecution piece, all of the elements are still present. And I'd hate to see it go away, which is what likely would happen if it goes on another 12 months. Some of those pieces are going to fall by the wayside just because they're not relevant. But at some point, you still have to have a prosecutor to pick up those ones that haven't shown up. The DUII from 3 years ago who gets popped and has to go to court finally, and it comes back to here. I believe that the city charter is pretty clear about the jurisdiction of the court. There's a reason that's in the city charter, I'm sure. I wasn't here when that was drafted, but a simple reading of it's pretty clear and straightforward. The idea is that we take care of it here, we keep it local, so that the people that commit the offenses in the city are responsible to the city itself to take care of it. So the other thing I wanted to address is the concept of the splitting the city attorney's position into two, or having a single city attorney. Excuse me, when I first started, back in about 2008, I think it was, John Kelly was the city attorney, and he handled both pretty well, I think. But John Kelly had been around a very long time. And I just don't believe today that a city attorney is equipped necessarily to be a prosecutor at the same time. When you talk about the issues that a city attorney has to deal with, I'm not a civil attorney, but you've got stuff like land use and city codes and all kinds of things that they have to deal with. That's a full-time job. It might not have been back, when John Kelly first was hired, and I'm not even sure when that was, but it was probably 2000, maybe even before that. What I've noticed during that brief period when those positions were separated and Ms. Heil became the city prosecutor is that the criminal activity in the court, that system flowed much better. And I'm not going to say that, excuse me, that Mr. Lindsay wasn't, you know, a decent prosecutor, but he had his hands full. And I don't think necessarily that municipal court was on the same level as some of the other things that he was dealing with. But I know that Ms. Heil reviewed the cases and filed the cases that needed to be filed. And because we're in a small jurisdiction, those cases come up quickly. You don't send in the police reports and wait 6 or 8 months for something to happen. And that system was working pretty well. And then COVID, not much I can say about COVID. That was just, you know, kind of a one-off, I guess. Kind of a one-off. But I know that I have this. So this is almost self-explanatory, but I'm looking at the revenue stream here. We are now almost at the level we were back in fiscal year 18-19 with the amount that we're going to foresee coming in. Most of that now is traffic, which in my experience, this year, the traffic has certainly been the primary mover because we haven't had the criminal dockets. But that, along with the financials that are in the packet that was given to you, demonstrate that the court can certainly support that criminal docket. And find the right spot here. With a remaining balance, 18-19 was 194,000 that went into the city. And if we brought the criminal cases back and adjusted some of the other items that need to be adjusted, primarily the way that the court-appointed attorneys are being paid at this point, it would be up to 116,000 with the criminal cases. The volume of cases, you know, I think the city attorney prosecutor, if I'm not mistaken, works at least 20 hours a week on top of what a normal city attorney would do. And that just, I can't imagine that that's tenable. It just doesn't make sense to me. So my recommendations are pretty straightforward. I think the city needs to bring the crimes back into this court. I'm not even sure that the council ever voted on it in the first place. They need to come back. We need to be able to supervise those people in town and be able to take advantage of what we can do with a small court when you're dealing with those kind of people. I think the city attorney's office should be 2 people. You should have a prosecutor separate apart from the normal city attorney's duties. I know that I'm the judge in another city in Troutdale, and that's how they do it. And the city attorney there is he's a great guy, but he doesn't know a whole lot about criminal law. And the guy that they hired is very good. I just think that those 2 don't mesh well. So I guess what I would want to know is if you've got any questions for me. I've been a designated spear catcher for many years, so.
I have a couple for you, Judge. First off, what is the current what is the current staffing or what is the breakdown of the court right now? Like we're talking about, we've got
Okay.
separate prosecutor, we've
Got a
contracted our,
prosecute- yeah, we've got a prosecutor.
government ends of things.
We have 2 contract public defenders. We have 1, and I think it's 1.5. Is that right? There we go.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. And how much would that expand if we
Well,
bring these things back in-house?
initially, I don't think it would expand at all. It might after the first 6 or 7 months, when the budget time came up again for the next fiscal year, we would probably want to look at that. But that is directly related to the number of cases and how much time would be required of them. I can't project that.
Okay.
In the past, there were 2 full-time staff people, in addition to the attorneys and the judge. But again, it's hard for me to tell where that would go.
Okay. And then my other question, which you kind of started to answer, was how many, are you aware of what other cities handle it where the city attorney is also the prosecutory attorney, and which ones that are separate? You mentioned Troutdale is one that runs a separate situation.
Well, Troutdale's the one I'm most familiar with. When I was the judge in Malala, those duties were separate as well, and I believe they still are today. I think the prosecutor's on a contract. And I know who the city administrator there was, or city manager, and I can't imagine him prosecuting cases, so. But otherwise, I don't really have that information. Beaverton is practically a circuit court. It's so big, and it obviously has a contracted prosecution. Oregon City, I think they're separate in Oregon City. If you get out further, on the other side of the mountains, maybe to some of the smaller communities that have the courts, they may be combined, but then in those situations, probably the city attorney's caseload with criminal stuff and the normal city attorney work is probably not as heavy either.
So kind of what I'm hearing from you, Judge, is if we continue on down the road of recruiting a city attorney, that it really be somebody that's focused on city government ends of things, not both hats.
That would be my preference, certainly.
Okay. Councilor Patton, did you have a question?
No, I mean, I've read through all of this stuff. It makes total sense. I'm most interested in the option, the third option here, the 2023, 2024 projected with criminal court with cost saving proposal. And that's in terms of the pay per case for the appointed attorneys and the shift in the court interpreter. To me, it makes sense to do it. I would have no problem moving it forward. It's clear that the court covers its costs. One of the things that the city talks about, like with not public works, but planning and stuff, is that the department, the planning department needs to sort of fund itself through its fees. It is clear through all of this that the court funds itself through the activities that it does. And so, I would have absolutely no problem bringing this back in. I agree that the city has grown to the point where having the city attorney and the prosecutorial attorney be the same person does not make a whole lot of sense. And it would probably be easier and more fair to folks going through the system to not be represented by our city attorney if they are focused on other things. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for it.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to mention that Mr. Wentworth has his hand raised, and so I was going to see if we'd like to promote him.
Yes, for sure. While you're doing that, Council President Hensley, did you have any questions at all?
I don't have any questions. I really wasn't a fan of the move in the first place, so I'm all about moving it back.
Counselor Stearns.
One question, how long does it usually take to adjudicate a case from charging to like adjudication?
That,
For misdemeanor, I guess we're talking about the misdemeanors right now.
well, you're talking to a lawyer, so the obvious answer is that depends.
Of course.
Um,
I'm just like average or something.
Based on billable hours as long as possible.
Well, yeah, something like that. I would say anywhere from 3 to 9 months when the
Okay.
system is functioning the way it should.
Is that different when the city does it versus when the county does it, or maybe?
My understanding is it's significantly quicker.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely, I'm not sure how we would change what was done in the past, or was it done by an ordinance or not, but I think one of the primary functions of government is to adjudicate things as quickly and as fairly as possible. And so for me, it's not even a question of whether it pays for itself or not. I think that's the basic function. And I kind of agree with the idea of having a specialized prosecutor. I personally specialize in tax law, and my opinion is that any other attorney that tries tax law that doesn't know it is doing malpractice. And I would assume the same thing with criminal law, that anybody who, even any member of the bar who just wants to dabble in criminal law is probably committing malpractice himself. And that's just my opinion on that. So I think it's something that needs to take place at a local level as much as possible.
And to just tag along with that a little bit, I would say that when people ask me tax questions, I tell them I know just enough to be dangerous.
And the same thing when people ask me criminal questions.
Mr. Wentworth, thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that I've had a chance to hear the judge's proposal, and I'm not taking a position of any kind about what the council should do. I do want to say, though, that if the rationale for doing, going back to having a city prosecutor is based on a lack of service or a perceived lack of service that the judge mentions from my office, it's gravely misplaced. There are two counties that I think are probably the stalwarts in the state for aggressive prosecution, Clackamas and Washington counties. Each have a filing rate of about 80%. As the judge mentioned, I would put that up against any other county in the state. I would put it up against the city of Canby prior to our taking the cases. And I want to assure the council that should you decide not to have a municipal court that includes crimes, services will not be lost to Canby residents whatsoever. I'm offended by the judge's representation to the contrary. It's misplaced. It's not true. Many of the city prosecutors that I know of who are hired by contract are prosecutors who gained their experience in my office. So that's the group of people you're going to go hire from. And I think that there are many possible other good reasons to take this leap, but it should not fall in any way on some representation that my office hasn't provided the service to Canby that it should. We are an outstanding office. I actually added a prosecutor to my office because of the additional caseload that Canby sent to us. And so we did not miss a beat. Canby didn't miss a beat. And we actually have a whole host of services that our office offers that city prosecutors cannot, for example, a victim assistance program. So I just want to represent my office well. I wanted to assure the residents of Canby that they haven't lost service by having cases transferred to our office. And I stand by our prosecutorial decisions that we've made to this point. So thank you for that opportunity.
No, I appreciate it, Mr. Wentworth. So what would, in your opinion, what are the pros and cons of us moving it from your series of dockets back into the city?
From my perspective,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, to be honest. I'm intrigued by the judge said we don't want to look like we're just going for revenue, and then we shifted quickly to revenue in his discussion. So I don't know if that plays into the factoring. Um, it doesn't make a difference from my office's standpoint whether we have the cases or not. There might be a swifter approach if you handle the cases within Canby. Those cases might be resolved more quickly, at least in the short run. As you may know, we have a courthouse that's being built where we'll be adding 3 additional judges. And I'm hoping that we become one of the most efficient dockets in the state because we'll finally, as a county, have the number of judges that we're allocated to have for our population of over 420,000 people. But we're not there yet. That courthouse won't open until May of 2025. Those are the most, I would say, probably the best reasons to do what you're thinking of doing. I don't have a reason not to, per se. I just wanted to point out what the valid considerations might be and what might not be.
Great, thank you, I appreciate that. Yes, Councilor Stearns.
Just a question for Mr. Wentworth. Do you, at the county level, prosecute the Class C misdemeanors?
We do. We have no policy against prosecuting any kind of crime because, like the judge was saying, I totally agree. Many of the what we call low-level crimes are actually crimes that affect livability for the people that we serve, right? So whether it's graffiti or shoplifting or what have you, my commitment is to see that those cases are prosecuted just as aggressively as anything else, because I live in the county. I want to make sure that it's a county and a place that we're proud to live in, and I think if we start to slip in any small degree, that becomes a cascading effect for what people perceive they can or cannot do within a community overall. So no, we don't have a policy against prosecuting, say, any kind of Class C misdemeanor.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Patton.
Thank you very much for chiming in. My question, where's the data? So you are Judge, you're saying that there's things that are being missed. District Attorney, you're saying, I'm sorry, it is District Attorney, correct? You're saying that things aren't being missed, but I really don't have a whole lot of data to say what is actually happening. You know, could the prosecution of these crimes before they were handed off to the way to actually get that data to say, you know, had X many of these various crimes, and this is how many were prosecuted, completed in the Canby City Court. And since it's now been moved over to the county, this is how many have been sent of these various types, and this is how many have been prosecuted or waived or whatever it is. What is the possibility of actually seeing that data?
I do not have that data. I have anecdotal information from officers whose cases have been declined, particularly with theft 3 cases where the value of the merchandise is under $100. That's the threshold for a theft 3, and they've been returned because it's not worth. That's what they've been told. But that's, you know, that's hearsay. I don't have the officers here to say that, but I've heard it from more than one.
Okay. I guess another thing that this kind of reminds me of is the court, like government, is meant to be in layers. And there is a reason that there are multiple layers. You start at the lower step and then eventually you work your way up. And to me, it almost seems like by sending these cases from Canby immediately off to the county, it is circumventing a natural step in the process. That's another reason why I think bringing it back into Canby would make sense. Also, we've historically had this service that we've provided. We are technically still paying for the service. It sounds like we're going to have to keep some level of this service Because I mean, you were saying that this decision was made to do this in July of 2022? So now it's been a year and a half or more that this decision was made, and we're still paying for all these services. And it sounds like to me that we're still gonna have to continue to pay for these services for several more years, because some of these cases might come up, and we're gonna have to have all of that infrastructure there to be able to prosecute that. Is that a fair understanding of what we're looking at for the future?
I think so, yeah.
District Attorney, does that sound correct?
I have no idea, because I don't know how many cases are currently being processed in your municipal court, or how much you're paying a city prosecutor or a city attorney to do that work. That's not something I have knowledge of.
Well, but I mean, if it started here and it has to come back here, we have to have those services to be able to take care of that, correct?
Oh, of course, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So see, we're gonna end up having to pay for these services for many years to come, because if that case comes in and we no longer have the court, does that go to the district attorney? Do we have to bring in temporary people to do it at this level? That's another reason why I think we should, plus, when this building was built, it was built with the understanding that we were gonna move court into this chamber, that we were going to, that was one of the parts and pieces of this. So it's always been planned, in my opinion, even back when I was on council in 2008, that was gonna be a city service. So, and whether there is things being missed at the county or not, that for me is not as big of a thing as it is providing the service that the city is supposed to be as a function of natural government. So that's my thoughts on it. But if there is a possibility of getting that data, I would be very interested in seeing it.
Chief Drow, did you have anything that you want to add? Yeah.
I'll come up here with the judge.
And you won't have my back anymore.
I'll be next to you. So a couple things. One, no matter what court we refer our cases to, the Canby Police does the same job, right? We investigate the case, regardless if it's a minor crime or a major crime, and we'll send it to the court that wherever it needs to go. I was a little, when Joe brought this up, 2 years ago, I was a little hesitant just because that some of the same reasons the judge here said about losing some local control, worried about some of the minor cases and so forth. I think there's pros and cons to both. I really do. Both prosecutors, from the DA's office to Lucy, who's been doing it for the last year and a half, are excellent and do an excellent job. A couple things that I will add is, like, pros, I think for municipal court is that local control. We could easily access Lucy to talk to her about cases, about moving forward. Parking is way better down here, right, than up at Oregon City.
For now.
So those type of things, right? I think somebody said about 20%. It was about 19% of the cases that would have been referred to if we had a municipal court here. It was like a little bit over, between 19 and 20% of the cases were declined. And cases declined are for various reasons, right? We don't have enough evidence, right? We have a different standard for us to cite somebody, arrest somebody. We have to have probable causes, which is, right, more likely than not this person did it. So obviously we try our best to do a complete investigation. The court, either one, has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a much higher standard. So sometimes we'll send a case and they say, you know what, we just cannot prove this. We think, yeah, they probably did it, right? But they just can't prove it. So there's a number of reasons that cases get declined, either in municipal court or up in circuit court. I do like there's a few more resources, I think, at circuit court as far as like victims assistant. And if somebody does go on probation, they could do actual formal probation versus a bench probation. So I think it has a little bit more accountability because they have to check in with somebody. And you brought up Measure 110, and I think Measure 110, I think there's gonna be some changes to that, and possibly user amount of drugs may turn into, may become misdemeanors again, not felonies, but maybe misdemeanors, and I guess this is speculation, right? But if that's the case, is it better served if they go up to circuit court drug cases where they do get put on formal probation, where they have to meet with somebody instead of a bench probation? And the judge could explain what bench probation, compared to formal probation. The other thing, just to clarify, is so misdemeanors. So we send all felony cases up to the district attorney's office regardless. We send misdemeanors that involve domestic violence. They do not go to our municipal court. They go to the DA's office. Anything outside the city, so if it's 99 in Sequoia, right, that is outside our city limits. If it's a crime that's committed there that we take, it goes up to the district attorney's office regardless. It does not come to the municipal court here. So misdemeanor crimes that are committed in the city that aren't those domestic violence will get sent here if we continue with the municipal court. And I know one of the reasons that Joe, I remember him saying it was a little bit, he thought that eventually if the crimes are gone, there could be money saved because you don't have to pay for a prosecutor, you don't have to pay for a defense attorney. Yes, there's lingering cases that will continue, correct, right? And we have to pay for those. So there's no, I don't know, I don't think even in Clackamas County, I think 5 jurisdictions send all their cases to the district attorney's office, 5 jurisdictions have municipal courts. So out of the 10. So there's pros and cons to both. That definitely is. Yeah.
Yes, Councilor Patton.
So it sounds like the county offers, and it would make sense, the county can offer certain services that the city can't, just by sheer volume of cases and size and budget. It sounds like those are valuable to the people who are trying to navigate through the system and turn their lives around. If we were to bring some of these things back internally, is there still a way that we could partner with the county to connect people to some of these services that will help them dig themselves out of their hole? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, everybody who comes through any sort of court should be given an opportunity to turn their life around. And anything that we can do at our level to help make that happen, I am all for.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something maybe the judge and.
Well, I think historically, we have put people on formal probation. They go to the probation office and they're connected with some of those services that the county offers. But many of the minor misdemeanors, I guess you'd call them, we handle in court and monitor them ourselves so that we know, they've got things they need to do, deadlines they need to meet. And if those aren't met, then we bring them back into court and essentially supervise them ourselves.
Okay.
But we do have historically sent Class A misdemeanor issues where the probation was ordered on formal probation. They go off to community corrections and are then processed through them.
So it sounds like even if we do bring this in-house, there are still going to be some things that would get kicked up to the county just by nature of the crime. Is that correct?
Oh, I think that's true. The domestic violence cases that would be charged as a misdemeanor certainly would be going to the circuit court.
Okay.
That's an example.
Okay.
One more thing I would like to add, you asked about statistics. So it was pretty easy to get the statistics from the cases we sent to the district attorney's office, because when we send a case to the district attorney's office, they either prosecute it, right, file it, or we get a decline letter from the DA's office, and that's on every case. So it's pretty easy to match up what cases we sent and what were declined, right? And that's right. Again, they're declined for a variety of reasons. It's a little harder to get those statistics with our municipal court because we don't get those declines. Katie McRoby, who's our administrative supervisor, did try to dig into cases that were sent to municipal court over the 21, 22 years. So the full year, we were still sending cases here. And roughly, again, this is a rough estimate because she had to go through every case and see what was dismissed or declined or prosecuted. And it was roughly between 16 and 17% of cases, misdemeanor cases that were sent here that were declined.
Okay.
Not real far off of
Sure.
what the DA's office is doing.
Okay. And if I may, I have one other thing then that brought up. I guess, and with the modernization, if we're going to bring this back in-house, if the county has a system where they let you folks know that something has been declined and the reason why, and then it's able to be tracked, I would really like to see our court start a similar system where when a case is denied or dismissed, that it is a notification of that is sent to our police department to let them know why, so that we can track that data for the future. I think that would make sense.
Yeah, it is really nice to have those. One, it's a learning thing for the officers to see why things were declined, why the court's not taking this either way. And then we also file it with the original case. So 5 years down the line, someone asks, why wasn't this prosecuted? We have a letter there.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Okay. No, thank you for, I know that that's not hard data, but think that those statistics make sense. And I understand that it is, that it is a bit of a pride thing, right? We want to make sure that we do a good job everywhere. And, the city is able to do certain things and the county is able to do certain things and the city is not able to do certain things and the county can't do certain things. That's why there's these layers of stuff. I know that the city has contracted with the county to do our building permits. And there are complaints, there's good and bad for doing that. But we no longer have the ability to do that. We don't have that system in place to bring that back in-house. We have the system still in place to bring this back in-house. So I would still be for that.
Any other comments or questions? And we got a minute or so. Lucy, do you want to provide anything, or you just here for moral support?
We're just gonna bring it all up. We got some time. We're gonna
Hey,
do
we
a
got,
parade up through here.
You're hanging out with us late into the evening, so I figured, I'll give you an opportunity.
I'm happy to provide. Sure.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah, your thoughts, perspective. I mean, we're not here to make a decision this evening, but it's kind of again, the work session piece is just try to gather perspective and information.
I feel like I am in court, so I should be standing, but.
No, you can sit down. It's all right.
But thank you for this opportunity. I feel very passionate about the work we do in our municipal court. And I do believe that we have a strong team that wants to help people turn their lives around, wants to help provide them with tools so that they don't land in this court again. And I believe, but I don't know, I cannot prove it right now, but I believe that we've earned some respect from community members. And I believe I established relationships, not just with defense attorneys, but with defendants who come in here. They know me, obviously they're represented, so we don't speak directly about cases, but there is a different feel to this local prosecution. I haven't worked for Clackamas District Attorney's Office or Washington County, but I've worked for 3 different district attorneys' offices. I have extensive prosecution experience, and I could speak to differences I have experienced and seen and I'm aware of with circuit court types of prosecution versus municipal court. And it just runs differently. I know that Clackamas County District Attorney's Office does an excellent job and they care about their cases and there are more resources. But here it's hard to put into words the impact I hope we have and we try to have, and how we feel about what we're doing. What else can I answer that might be helpful? I don't want to blabber on nonsensically, but.
No, you're kind of reinforcing, again, the conversation, and that's kind of what we're looking for, just that perspective. Again, at the end of the night, we're not sure, what's the best way to go. So it's really going to be kind of like weigh in those pros and cons I think everyone's laid out this evening for us. So, no, appreciate that.
Thank you. I can also comment on the decline memos. I agree that decline memos, if I continue as prosecutor here, if we have our court here, that I believe that is a best practice. I believe I fell short on it before, but I know that I can do it and I would be committed to doing it. I remember Chief Tro and I talking about the value that that would add. When I first came into the prosecution role, it was in September of 2020, and there were a lot of cases and so I think there's plenty of work to be done here. Something that just came to mind, and not having a prepared speech, but wanting to speak because I do really care about this. There was one individual, I know his name, I know where he stole from. It was TNT Market. It was stickers, a bunch of stickers. Kind of silly, but it was a Class C misdemeanor, right? Low-level crime. He's in prison now, right? So I've seen it where folks who are not offered the services or provided with the appropriate tools or given the chance to turn things around, where they do escalate. And of course, as we all know, right? In the, not everyone, or they, I don't mean everyone, but without the impact and the holding them accountable to the conditions that judges ordered, word gets around, it feels like. The trespasses seem to have increased, from my understanding, that thefts have increased. This is probably by the by, but I do some defense work too, and I know from hearing some criminal defendants that they know where they can steal and get away with it, or where they can break into cars, etc., and less accountability, where they're going to get more time, where it's better to commit crimes and to not get as much custody time, things like that. So just like we talk about good deals at Costco or other things like that, it's my belief, based on my personal experience with it, that those individuals who are charged with criminal offenses do share information too, right? And so I believe there's a lot to be gained and good work still to be done by this court with a team. And Jessica is amazing, Emily is amazing. We really have talented, like I said, passionate people, as they do in the DA's office as well. But I hope that's helpful.
No, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for this chance.
Mr. District Attorney, thank you for being here this evening, and Judge, thank you, and bringing your group with you here for your moral support, which are, so. And do we have any other questions or input that we want to hear right now?
My only question would be, what are the next steps? Do they have to bring us an ordinance, a resolution, or what?
Well, the decision was
we're not
made
gonna-
without the city council even being included.
True.
So I don't see why we would have to vote to undo something that was never voted on to begin with.
Well,
Fair point.
Unless we want to do it.
that will be a conversation that I think we're gonna have to have, and I will have that with Eileen and Mr. Doofman, and we'll figure out where we go from a city government standpoint, from that point, so, okay. All right, I'm gonna conclude our work session. We are a bit over, but I think we're gonna take a quick stretch break and get ready for our city council meeting. Judge Graff, thank you very much,
You bet.
appreciate it, thank you.
Hey, thank you very
Mr.
much.
DA, thank you very much for being here this evening.
Have a good night.
Looks like the recording's ready to go. We're gonna get going here in 5, 4, 3. Good evening, Canby. Welcome to the November 15th, 2023 City Council meeting. If you will please stand with me to do the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this great community. Thank you for the men and women and the leaders of this community. I just want to take a moment and I want to lift up our our community and the Cutsforth family. Our community and that family lost a great man in Frank Cutsforth. Our hearts go out to Kathy, his wife, and his family, as well as the greater Cutsforth employee family as well. Please bless them, hold them close to you during this very tough time. I ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's no comma.
I know there is. All right, thank you very much. Not slated on the agenda this evening is a really fantastic, hello sir, how are you? A great honor that we have tonight, and I'm going to invite Mr. Buckles up here to walk us through how we ended up here this evening and with some very wonderful people.
Give you a quick update on the Hummer since you were a Hummer sponsor.
And sorry, can you point the microphone up to you or have a seat? I guess we didn't,
Okay.
that'll work too.
Sorry. You guys hear me, Golda? Can you hear me? Awesome. We drove the Hummer last Saturday in the Albany Veterans Day Parade, and we were told it's the third largest in the United States, the largest on this side of the Mississippi, and I've never seen anything like it in my life. We were 128th vehicle out of 178, and they said they missed about 100 because of the threat of rain, but it was just packed, the crowds, everything. Well, someone videoed it passing by them, put it on TikTok, and I'm not on TikTok, but somehow it got to me this morning, and when we left the home, it had 27,000 views, and all these comments, hundreds and hundreds of comments, a lot from Vietnam vets and stuff. It just was something else. But the most amazing experience we've had driving this Hummer around for a year was at the Canby Rodeo Military Appreciation Night at the Clackamas County Fair. And I'm going to introduce everyone, and then Clayton Rhodes will make a presentation. But Clayton Rhodes and his lady friend Judy right there, he's the president of Canby Rodeo. And the first person who's not here because he's stationed in Washington, D.C. is PFC Cole Rezchek. Did I say that right? And his mom and dad are representing him. We got to, they first asked Melinda to sing the national anthem, which she did. And then when I showed Clayton the Hummer, he said, that's got to be in the arena. So we drove it in the arena, and I said, what if we put a veteran in there from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq, and then you recognize them? He said, let's do it. So representing the current serving was Cole, her son, who's in DC. And then the next youngest vet was multiple tours in Bosnia, Afghanistan, Iraq, and goes back and forth with supplies to Ukraine and teaching high school kids how to take care of themselves if they've been hurt. And he's a special forces medic, John Steinbaugh, and his lovely wife, Lori, right behind him. And then next to him is the next youngest one, is Bill Chisholm of the Korean War. He was at the Chosin Reservoir, and he was wounded as a 16-year-old and was patched up and sent back to the front and got a second Purple Heart as a 17-year-old. And then, obviously, you know my wife, who is sang everywhere we go. But one of the veterans who could not make it was not feeling well and felt really bad about it. And so I said, well, we've got this special presentation tonight, but this is the star of the veterans here. This is a World War II woman Marine, and she's 100 years young, Golda Fabian. She said, "You're gonna make you cry." She just told us a story tonight. We ate dinner before coming here, and it's sponsored by Ken of Backstop, who's a very amazing supporter. But she told us how she lost one of her stripes because I know it's hard to believe, but sexual harassment was really bad back in those days. And she threw a bunch of books and paperwork at a sergeant because he was being a jerk. Anyway, could I please have Mr. Clayton Rhodes come up, please? And he's going to make a presentation, and then we'll get out of your hair.
Oh, you're
Hope
fine.
you guys would all come up here and stand up here, and we'll give you these, come on up and face the crowd. What happened was,
Thanks, Jamie.
we give away a fan of the night of the Canby Rodeo each night, and we had this many veterans, and we weren't able to give them all their belt buckles and what they deserve. So I would like to present that tonight to all of you guys, and I appreciate everything you've done for your service. And we appreciate you being on a rodeo and being the fan of the night. Thank you.
I've been watching Heartland. I know what these buckles mean. My daughter will be amazed when I come home with my own buckle. Those are beautiful.
There now, get pictures, mommy's crying.
I love it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we're very grateful to have this opportunity to do this here. I said we can take it to them, we can deliver it, we can meet, take them to lunch, and Clayton kept saying, no, 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 this has got to be something special. And we were trying to think of something special, and I said, hey, what about the Canby City Council meeting? And he said, they're not going to want that there. And I go, oh, yes, they will. And so I texted him, and within minutes, he texted back, yes, it would be an honor. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
And a personal tribute, I want to thank everybody myself. Thank you so much.
Show you how feisty she still is. She says, my patch better be on that jacket. Well, it's right here. Lady Marie.
Well, Ken and Melinda, thank you so much for reaching out and being able and wanting to do this here. We really appreciate it. And it's, it was nice with Veterans Day just here past this weekend. It was, it's always a solemn piece to what we celebrate here in our country. And I don't think there is quite as much reverence as there used to be for Veterans Day. So to be able to recognize these four individuals has been great. So I appreciate you guys doing it. Thank you. I hope I'm not spry at 60.
Right? I know, she's walking better than I do.
I love it. Oh, nope, nope. Yep. Thanks, Melinda. Next on our agenda this evening is discussion about the appointment of our city administrator, and we're close, not yet. So those of you who've been following, we finished up last week the process of interviews of our three finalists for the position. And from that conversation, we moved into the direction by the council, or from like a consensus standpoint, was for me and the mayor to enter into negotiations with our choice, or who we would like to be our next city administrator. And so I would say that right now, contracts have been drafted and are in review by our candidate. And so that process is going. So I just wanted to update the council and the community on that. And I know that there's a lot of question on who was chosen. We really can't, in an exec session, make a decision. And but I think we can absolutely share with the community who we've asked to consider the position.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we enable Mayor Hodson to continue the negotiations with Ms. Eileen Stein to be the next city administrator.
Perfect. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Well, yeah, so we have chosen Eileen Stein, who's been our interim city manager for the last several months and keeping us moving forward. And so we are very excited to keep moving along with this. And so yes, Eileen and I will sharpen pencils and duke it out over the contract for her hopefully to accept the role. So we just wanted to officially make that public announcement on that regard. So.
And I would just like to say that I'm sure we will work things out, and it has been a pleasure serving the community, and it is an incredible organization, and I would be honored to be in charge of it. So thank you for your faith and confidence.
Perfect, thank you. So once we get this finalized, so hopefully we'll be able to, by our next meeting, be able to make it official and make the announcement there. So I will keep everyone posted on what that will look like. Next is citizen input community announcements. So this is an opportunity for audience members to address the city council on items not on the agenda. If you are attending in person, please fill out this yellow card like we have here. They're located on the back podium there. And please bring it over here to our deputy city recorder, and we will make sure you are given time to speak. If you are not able to attend but wanting to do it virtually, please let our city recorder know by 4:30 p.m. On the day of our city council meetings. So I don't think we have anyone online tonight.
We do have one person virtually who is wanting to talk.
Okay.
Greg Perez.
Okay. We'll go with Mr. Perez first. Good evening, Mr. Perez. How are you?
Where'd he go? Whoop, there he is. Oh, he's gone.
Greg, if you're speaking, you're muted.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes,
there
sir.
we go.
Okay. I just wanted to say one thing, and it's a positive thing, and I'm happy that things are moving more smoothly than they have in the past. But I'd like to say, as the city moves forward in a new calendar year with a new city administrator, I hope to see our $10 million facility used to its fullest capacity, with city officials occupying their offices with posted and regular hours. And congratulations to Eileen, and I hope the best, and I know we're going to have some good things coming up in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that very much. The first yellow card I have this evening is from Mr. Pfeiffer Robinson. Address council on local and national issues.
Just be uninhibited like that. It would be a kid again.
I know.
I don't know if I leave him up, so I'll be really upset. Okay, he said he wanted to talk.
Looks like he might have changed his mind.
It actually wasn't in the plan to bring him,
No, that's okay.
but he wanted to, he kind of followed me out the door, you know?
Yep, it's totally fine.
You're welcome to start the time on me.
Well, you've got it, sir. 3 minutes is yours.
All right. Congratulations, probably. Yeah, I know we got one vacancy, little turnovers, one new face since I've been here. Congratulations to Councilor Stearns. Yeah, so yeah, it was really touching to see all the veterans here today. My brother is a veteran also. And yeah, I'm actually, let's see, I'll try to be really concise here. So I guess like something I always like to seek reassurance is that everyone on city council is prepared to speak out against intolerance, bigotry, hatred, white supremacism. I know Canby had on the 4th of July march years ago, less than a decade ago, there was a Confederate flags at the 4th of July march. And I'm really glad that's not happening anymore. That's a measurement of progress for me. My wife and I bought a house here 6 years ago, and I've personally destroyed 3 swastikas in public places, but I'm sorry I had to destroy them and no one else went through the trouble of doing it, but 3, that's just 1 every 2 years, not bad. So I just, are you all prepared to do what it takes to resist white supremacism, hatred, and violent rhetoric?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's a resounding yes.
Yeah, it's not a rhetorical question. Yes. Okay. That's the main thing I'm looking for. I've served on I'm on the Clackamas County Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, but I served on the Canby one and the Canby Historical Society, and we've had mixed experiences here. If we did it all again, we might look in Beaverton or Westland or something, but I like to keep things positive. So what I'd say is we all have the opportunity to be leaders and make Canby a better place, a place where everyone is welcome and doesn't matter if you're different than anyone else, So I'll save the rest of my time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Great to see you, sir. Next on the, our next public comment piece is Daniel Godfrey about the downtown alleys. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Hodson, fellow council members. As the mayor just indicated, my name is Daniel Godfrey. I've been a business owner. I own the old Parsons building. I've been in Canby now since 2019. My concern is the back alleys and the condition which they're in, the safety hazards which they're creating. It makes the city look really bad, in my personal opinion. But as a business owner, it's becoming just a major concern and issue. And I think I speak for all business owners downtown that we could do better. And I'm asking the city, what are your plans? Is there budgeted dollars set aside that we could repave the alleys? I think they're long overdue. Personally, behind the old Parsons building, you almost have to have a boat to go down it. I mean, when it rains, it's just flooded and there's huge potholes and it's just disgusting, and there's no need for it. And I think that, as a business owner, as both the building and my business being there, I feel like we could do better. And so I'm here to request or ask if we could get those alleys repaved. And maybe ask you, what's the agenda? Is there any thought to this? Have you all been out and walked downtown and seen the condition of the alleys? I mean, even from a maintenance standpoint, if we continue to let it go, it's just going to get worse and it's going to cost the city more money. So at what point do we, address this?
So, Mr. Godfrey, thank you for coming tonight. Really appreciate that and your comments. Yes, the alleyways are something that we've looked at. I have driven them, I have walked them, and you're right, they do tend to get a bit, we'll say flooded when it's raining hard. And Jerry Nelzine, our Public Works Director, is here this evening. And we have had conversation about the alleyways and that they do need attention. And I do know that there has been conversation and planning put into what that'll look like in timelines and costs. And so that is on the city's agenda from a public works standpoint to address that issue. Timeline, I don't know if I could tell you that right now. I just know that we are running into extreme increase in costs. You as a business owner know that as well. And so those are pieces that we are looking at trying to get resolved and to figure out how to do that the best way we can.
Okay. Appreciate that feedback. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I may add that, at the conclusion of this meeting, we do have an urban renewal agency meeting, and we will be revisiting those priorities. But right now, it does call for funding for 12 alleyway improvements in Canby. So just want to revisit that, make sure that that's a priority still for the council or for the commission. But there is money available.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So definitely stay tuned and we'll keep you posted on that. Okay, that's all I have in yellow cards. Is there anyone else online, Maya, that? No? Okay. Well, next on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda that includes the appointment of member Greg Perez to the to the Transit Advisory Committee with a term ending March 31st, 2024, the minutes of the September 20, 2023 City Council meeting, and the minutes of the October 4, 2023 work session and regular City Council meeting.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, sir.
Nope. I don't think he heard you.
Motion's been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Maldonado to approve the consent agenda, which includes appointing member Greg Perez to the Transit Advisory Committee with a term ending March 31st, 2024, approval of the September 20th, 2023 City Council regular meeting minutes, and approval of the October 4th, 2023 work session and City Council regular meeting minutes. Any discussion or comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It carries 5-0. One resolution here on our docket this evening, and that's resolution number 1398, a resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between County and the City of Canby related to the South Ivy Street Sidewalk Improvement Project and repealing resolution number 08. Ms. Stein. Mr. Nelzine, I knew we'd get you up here somehow.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Thanks for letting me come up. So I don't want to get into the weeds too much on this, but I think there is some counselors that have been here for a while that know about this project and some counselors that are probably new to it. I won't go back as far as when this was talked about because I don't know if I was working here when this started, when we wanted this project. I'm not sure, but it's been through a lot of work and I'm excited to have it to this point, other than costs have gone up. So basically we brought an IGA to the City Council in 2019, asking for commitment to pay for this project so that the county could do their portion of engineering and we could use state funds to do the improvements on South Ivy. Originally, this project was just basically a sidewalk project, and we all hoped for more and everything else, but that's all it was. It really wasn't even repaving. The project over time grew. We wanted a signal. We wanted sidewalks. We wanted some pedestrian safety for 11th Avenue, and we wanted to underground the power. And I say we because I supported that also. But we received word back in 2021 to Scott Archer that there was some cost increases, but I don't believe it ever came back before council. In the meantime, Clackamas County's been working on acquiring all the easements needed for this and getting this thing to design. We're currently, we've acquired all that easement. We, what else have we done? We've added a traffic signal. We've added all them pedestrian safety. And we basically have managed to get it half of the project undergrounded. It's not quite complete, but we had material, Canby Utility had problems getting materials. So where we're at now is we're coming back to you with amended resolution asking for you guys to commit to us spending more money on this project so we can continue because of all the added stuff and because of the added costs. Our city administrator and finance director, we've actually met again today about this to make sure that we can afford this. We can, but it has gone up in price. And so our commitment's gone up to over 4 million. I think it's, what is it? It's 4 million.
789,000.
Thank you, Jason. Yep, that is our contribution. And those are, we hope, safe numbers, so we don't have to come back to you again. But to do this, we are ready to go out to bid for this project and get it going. And I know this excites you, Mr. Mayor, and we want to put this out to bid in January. But we got to get it through you guys and then through the county commissioners approved to do this and start construction in March, April of this following year. So I was hoping, you guys, I should have had him play this a little bit more, but we kind of got Kittleson is one of the main engineers on this. They put this together for us. John Hongardner's the county engineer on this, who is great. Him and I have been working on this from the beginning. And this is kind of just a quick visual that I want you to look at and see if you want to, this is what it's going to look like. The only difference that it's not going to add to it is we are going to have power underground. Cub is going to have power undergrounded from 99E to Township with a traffic signal, and then maybe down the road finish the rest of it. We just can't, they cannot get supplies. They can't get wire or any of that stuff. It's literally impossible. Okay. So, and they've tried really hard over there to do that. And they're currently out there pulling poles down and moving stuff as we speak. But this is kind of just starting at 11th Avenue over by Lee School. And it's they actually flew a drone over and then created this with it. So
pretty snazzy.
It's kind of cool. Yeah. Yeah. And we currently have a pedestrian crossing there, but not with the island. And this will be updated flashing push bedding stuff for the poor person that has to stand out there in the rain that I drive by every morning. But as you can see, bike lanes, sidewalks, parking at spots where we can get the property. You'll see the pedestrian crossings. We're going into the side streets to make ADA. It's really going to change it for our young people and people that use all that going to school and from. So.
Are we going to have flashing lights at every crosswalk, or which ones are we dedicating that
The
to?
only flashing lights will be at 11th, and then potentially at the signal at Township.
Are those going to be pole mounts or street mounts?
The street light?
The lights, the flashing lights themselves?
The flashing lights will be pole mounted and actually not solar powered, but on 110 power. So they'll, okay. And then we hope to set up an actual system that can be ran through cellular that police can change from their computer at their desk for the different times to really get this, make it easier for them, because they actually have to drive out there and we're just talking, but I'll just say he does. They got to drive out there and hook a laptop up to reprogram them currently. They could do this, any of us could do this from our office.
Yeah. I think the big piece too is that as we look at South Ivy Street, that's still considered a county road.
Yep.
And so once this gets done, then it becomes ours.
Yeah, and the IGA reads that it becomes ours from 99 clear to Goods Bridge. We take over the whole thing, which is great. And I'm gonna need you, Mr. Mayor, to negotiate with Mr. Besner, because when we take this over, they write us a check for the 2-inch overlay, And we always have a conversation about how much they pay us on the price for asphalt for that. So we will get
They never
paid.
pay us enough.
They'll pay us for the asphalt after we accept the project. So, and they've been great. Mike Besner, John Hungardner, the county's just been amazing. And Kittleson, the Kittleson team engineering is really great to work with. You know, Tony Roos and Caleb, them guys are just outstanding. They created that for us. And any of you that want that, city recorder can email that to you. And it's got all of the facts and all of the information of the whole project in this email. So you could request that and they'll fire that right off to you. So, and maybe, you know, like Councilor Stearns, I don't know if you've heard of this project. I know Councilor Davis knows about it, and the mayor and Tracy Hensley. And I don't know, Councilor Maldonado, if you're up to speed. Okay. And Jason, I know
I love the streets.
you love the streets. Yep. So
We're gonna get them alleys paved, even if I have to be out there doing it with you. We're
oh,
gonna
so
get
we're
it
doing
done.
alleys too? Okay,
We're gonna
good.
do
Let's throw that in. But yeah, no, this is something that when I started, my supervisor at the time, Roy Hester, was like, I don't know how we'll ever pull this off, you know. And then it went through, you know, it started and then it went through, and Rick Robinson kind of really got it going, and it's been carrying on, and it's almost been stopped so many times. And to get to this point is exciting for me. And I know it's a lot of the taxpayers' money, but it's a good project, especially for the schools. And the fire department uses this road a lot with stuff, so the safety for that is huge. And it's my commute to work now.
So, yeah, I think Jerry, I think we've been working on this project for, let's see, I've been mayor now for 13 years.
Is that what it is? It's
Yeah.
been a while.
It's been a long time. And so what started off as a improvement project and a block grant, like you said, to just do some sidewalks, then it became a much bigger project. So it has, I think when Eileen told me about the number, I think I almost drove off.
I know.
It was either Eileen telling me the new cost, or it was hitting a pothole on 99 that almost caused me to drive off the road. We'll chalk it up to the pothole, but project's been a long time coming. I think it also talks to how government wheels grind slowly.
Yes.
And so are we sure that we're locked in? Because, I mean, to start, this is a big increase. And so I'm very concerned that we're gonna get another delay, and then that's gonna tack on an additional cost.
Yep, the only delay that I foresee, to be honest with you, is if Canby Utility has trouble with getting the materials to move power poles. But they're feeling, Jason Burning with Canby Utility sent an email to the county and all that, actually today, and I think Eileen, you might have been on that, is saying that they could meet this deadline. Other than that, the thing about this, Mr. Mayor, is everything's new under there. You can't see it. That's why it's so torn up. The sewer's all new, which is amazing. The water main went in first. It was new. Gas went in. It's all upgraded because that old steel line. And the Direct Link is working on getting their stuff. They got stuff to get more communications out of town that they got to get in. So it's one of a few projects that we've been able to upgrade all of the infrastructure on. You just don't see it other than driving over the potholes and all the road construction constantly out there. So I really feel confident that this is going to move forward if you approve this and go out to bid in January. You'll see this again and moving forward.
If we can make sure to work with Cub and lock down the power poles.
Yeah, and the Cub team, Carol Sullivan, she's involved, and this is important to them as well. Just the safe routes to school stuff with the school people and the kids and all that. It's a priority for all of us.
For sure.
Yep.
Council President Hensley, you had a question?
I do. Jerry, what does our takeover of Ivy from 99 to Goodsbridge, how does that change the conversation that we started at the Traffic Safety Commission about the light on 13th and Ivy?
Oh,
Bob's like, yeah.
The controlled turn lanes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a good question, Councilor Hensley, because I hope we have that fixed at the same time, because basically the county's looking into that. They got their engineer team seeing what it takes to do that. And that might be something that we add to this project, and Eileen will go, why are we adding more money to this project? But if we, hopefully with the contingency and everything, we're not over this price. So I would like to include that with this project of getting that fixed, because that is an issue.
I
So
like it better that the county pays for it. It's their light right now.
it is their light right now.
And
That's a lot of, yeah, I don't know. They're all watching right now to make sure this is going to go forward. So I'm going to be careful on what I say. I want to stay in good with them.
For those of us that are not aware of this conversation at 13th,
Yeah.
what is the situation?
The situation, if you drive it when you go down, and you're aware of it probably, if you're trying to, like, if you're going down 13th and trying to head out of town, the cross traffic continues and you miss the turn light because there's not a controlled left turn out of it. Okay. So people are having to wait, and what they're doing is they're cutting through the neighborhood, through Densmore and stuff like that, so they don't have to wait for that light, and it's impacting our neighborhood. Same with going like probably down Hope Village and First Street, they do the same thing.
Gotcha.
So it's a priority, and the engineering team, Joe Merrick, who I've worked with for years, is amazing, and hopefully he's listening, so he remembers that this is a priority for us, and he's working on it.
And it's more than just a programmable signal.
It's not big. It's not that big of a deal. It's adding just some stuff and hardware to the signal and some money.
Everything gets done with a little bit more money. Yes, Councilor Patton.
So would you say, so as you've been going out for these bids, we've noticed that the cost of all of the materials and stuff has been going through the roof. Have you noticed that there's been a slowdown in the increase of costs? Maybe things are starting to levelize. Do you see that at all happening?
Yeah, a little bit on littler stuff, but what I'm having problems with is the projects that we're doing is getting people to even bid on our work.
Okay.
They're so busy still. We have that fitness court we're trying to put in, and I've called 7 different contractors local to all that, and they want to do it, but they're just too busy to even bid it still. They still got a lot of work going in. So materials might level off, but the contractors are still going to try to get the high prices out of everything while they're busy. They got to make hay because this is going to slow down.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna get what they can out of it, and they're all huge. They're still high on employees and stuff like that, so that's expensive, their overhead on it. So I see it leveling on some stuff, and some stuff that's all. I have a perfect example, but I can't remember what it was on weird stuff that is expensive and you can't get. Oh, cyclone fence is just outrageous. It's just like quadrupled, and I don't know why, other than I don't know. I haven't checked into it. I'd like to know, but stuff like that, weird stuff like that is really still going up. And other stuff is, pavement and all that is kind of going off fuel prices, not more on inflated rates, but just petroleum prices. So.
Any other? Yes, Councilor Patton.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay.
I move to adopt resolution number 1398, a resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between Clackamas County and the City of Canby related to South Ivy Street Sidewalk Improvement Project and repealing resolution number 1308.
Motion's been made by Councilor Patton and seconded by Councilor Stearns to approve resolution number 1398, a resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between Clackamas County and the City of Canby related to the South Ivy Street Sidewalk Improvement Project and repealing resolution number 1308. Any discussion? Yes, Councilor Patton.
I will just say that this, like many other projects that the city has done over the years, is a testament to why it's better to do this stuff now than later, because the costs of these things are not coming down. And if this had been done, now granted, there was a bunch of reasons why this was not done sooner, but there are a number of projects that are on the city's plate public works projects like this. And if at all possible for us to spend those dollars now, it will save us money in the future because those things are not going to get any cheaper.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion items? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 5-0.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it, sir. Next on the agenda is old business. First item is discussion on the ARPA funding. Ms. Stein.
Yes, so Mayor and Council, this is a carryover item from a couple of past discussions that you've had. As you know, that you adopted Resolution 1395 in September, and then we promptly turned around and gave you a long-range financial picture. And the request that, or the comment that was made about kind of putting the cart before the horse is appropriate. So I apologize about that, but again, it was very important for us to having that long-range financial plan to show you that right away. So tonight is really about taking a look at the ARPA allocations and revisiting those if possible. So if you could go to the next slide. So wanted to, could you scoot up a little bit? I just want to, yeah, okay. Just wanted to refamiliarize you with we have reported $1,130,000 so far. We have recently spent $212,000, not $212, excuse me, in appropriations so far. You have adopted, or you have made a commitment to funding the Canby Adult Center, the Fairgrounds Multi-Use Building, Canby Utility Board. So all of these expenditures made total $1.6 million. Of that amount, what you have literally spent are just those first two categories. The amounts that have already been reported to the federal government, and then the body cameras, the police and fire, and the fire water line and the C-800 contributions. So those amounts have been paid. You do have a budgeted amount for car cameras and body cameras. Those have not been spent yet, but they are in progress of being purchased. So, standing back on this, or standing on this commitment that we fund the community agencies, which I wanted to do, or wanted to propose to you, excuse me, that's where we have $1.6 million. Looking at it a different way, we received a total of $3.9 million. Again, we have spent reported or spent $342,000. So we have an unspent portion of $3.6 million. Once you factor in the amount that has been, that's in process, and the amount that is approved through the past resolution, we have available $2.3 million to spend. Now, if you could go to the next slide, I just wanted you to show that of that $1.2 million, of that $2 million, the amount that is showing here is the reserve for, I want you to focus on the reserve for future expenditures, the unrestricted amount of money of $4.195 million. That's the amount that includes the ARPA dollar amount that is in there. And if you could go to the next slide. So we have $2.3 million. If that was spent on ARPA projects, that would reduce that fund balance of $4.5 million by the 2.3. The question is, or the options are to review the project list again, prioritize the project list, allocate funds to projects, and then there would be an effect on the general fund balance. So the council asked for how much we could reappropriate of that $2.3 million to already spent projects. We could reappropriate all of it to previously spent projects, 1.9 million in capital projects and $1.3 million in personnel costs. That would have the effect of keeping that $4.5 million in the general fund strategic reserve, which allows us to kind of extend out the general fund balance over time. But what it essentially does is it eliminates the funding for the logging road project. That's essentially. So we could reappropriate the money. We could still make appropriations to our community agencies. We could carry out the spending with all of the ways that we have proposed here. The only project that we could not do is the logging bridge project. So I wanted to kind of set this up and have you think about this when we get to the Urban Renewal District meeting a little bit later on. So, so this is really just for your consideration.
Question. Chief Tro, you mind coming to the table? Sure. Thank you. Since I have my police chief here and the fire district chief is here, I know one of our conversation topics was the whole radio piece that we're having to dip into funds to do. Where does that stand?
That has
I know
been
part
paid.
of our
That has
conversation.
been paid. That's a C-800 overrun for the police department or city Canby and the fire district, and that has been paid. And it was showed on that first, I think, one of the first slides.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes, Councilor Davis.
Few questions that I haven't seen yet, and having dealt with ARPA funding before as well, I know what requirements are for what you can spend ARPA money on. I'd like to be presented what the requirements are for reporting of ARPA funding and what it can be used for, number one. You know, I know our finance director made a statement that we could pull this money out and we could use it for everything. And I know that's not true, okay? So I'd like to see those requirements in regards to what you can spend that ARPA money for and what the regulations are for reporting that. Because I know you have to report the ARPA funding. The second part is we made a commitment, and I want to ensure that we meet those commitments that we've obligated to our partners. I think it's wrong for us to withdraw any of that, and I haven't heard you say that tonight, that we're maintaining what we've obligated to the partners.
Yeah.
So the only, yes,
Yeah, it was
so,
in there.
yeah, so the only thing that I've heard is pulling back the logging road. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
And what does that logging road, what does that include as far as the project goes?
We, I don't have it before me, but we had three different levels of project, three different levels of improvement to that project that could be done. My recollection was that it was only, with the money that we were talking about at the time, we could only do the option one level of improvement, which I think was just painting the bridge and maybe some structural supports or some structural features to the bridge supports.
Okay, so this deals with the bridge itself?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then option two had, Jerry, do you recall what the level of?
Yeah, basically, just to make it real simple, it was a beautification project, Counselor Davis, and it ranged from like 1.1 million up to like 4 for the deluxe. So it goes from painting up to like uplighting, a walking path going down, it had a whole bunch of selections that gave you guys to choose from on what we wanted to do if we wanted to move forward and using either urban renewal or ARPA money to do this project. So what Eileen had set out was what that type of money we would go back if we were interested in it and kind of bring back something for you guys to look at what we wanted to spend that and what we could do with that money, because there were several options, as she said. But painting it at the time was like $1.2 million, just the paint.
Okay.
Does that
Yeah,
help?
yeah, when we're talking about Logan Road project, it was the bridge.
The bridge, yep. And the bridge, painting, uplighting, decorative art, and then maybe a path for connectivity down to the sidewalk so people could access Fred Meyer's from. We even talked about a flying bridge getting over there.
Right,
And a whole
I
bunch of stuff
recall that
that we couldn't
conversation.
afford.
Yeah, I recall that conversation.
Yep. It was a while ago that we brought this to you guys.
Okay, I think the missing link here is not knowing what was going to be discussed in urban renewal as far as this, but everybody knows I'm opposed to spending any urban renewal money for that project.
Correct.
Okay.
Thanks, Jerry.
You're welcome.
So there are a couple of options for you to consider if there's any reallocation or reappropriation of the ARPA dollars, reprioritizing that project list, or if you're okay with the list as it stands, short of the Logging Road Bridge, or do you want to reallocate older capital projects and personnel costs, and which has the effect of allowing more fund balance to be retained by the city because we can reprogram other costs. Call those the ARPA contributions and continue to essentially have fund balance.
Eileen, what is your recommendation?
I don't have a strong recommendation other than wanting to make sure that we carried through on our commitments to the community agencies.
Councilor Pat, you had a question or comment?
I guess the first thing is that there's been talk, so I know that by spending this money, it draws down our reserve, correct?
Correct.
And that is one of the primary concerns. There's been talk about, do we have a healthy amount of reserve? Do we have a not healthy amount reserve? There's a 20% figure or a 35% figure or whatever, where does all that stand? Personally, I understand. I am 100% for paying out the commitments that we have made to our partners, like the Canby, the Clackamas County Event Center, the Adult Center, and Canby Utility. As far as the remaining money, since I've been on council, I have been pushing that this money needs to go into investments into the community. That is really what it's for. Some people will disagree with me on that, and they're more than welcome to do that. I understand that maybe it would be good to use some of this money to pay for existing commitments, but I still would like to see a portion of that 2-point-some odd million go into investments into this community. I am not a fan of government sitting on money just to sit on money. And I've made it very clear in my previous comment that if we have things that we need to buy today and we wait and buy them tomorrow, they are going to be more expensive. And so I see no sense in hoarding this money when we could improve the livability of the citizens of this community today. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. Council President Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've already talked about how it would have been nice to have a Wayback Machine and know the information that Eric brought to us before we made those allocations and made those commitments to our partners. And we're going to be good neighbors and make good on our promises there. I think that's absolutely what we should do. However, I think that given the bleak situation that we were dealt the other day or a couple of weeks ago, it'd be irresponsible of us to use this money to buy something else when we've already made investments in the community and we can backfill those investments and keep our budget healthy.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I would like to, before making a decision on this or a recommendation, I'd like to see the requirements of what we can spend the ARPA money on. What are the rules? And what are the rules for reporting?
Eric, do you feel like you can answer that question tonight, or would you? Okay. We will get that to you.
Thank you.
Yes.
If we're looking at that sort of information, I would very much like to know what our target reserve is supposed to be in our general fund to meet the requirements that we have placed. I know that there have been additional requirements placed on it, but I believe I've seen a document where it's 20-some%-ish that is what we're looking for. I'd like to see that number in writing of what that reserve fund balance is supposed to be.
I agree with that, Jason.
Yeah, generally it's somewhere between 10 and 15%, but I'm not familiar enough with the city of Canby's policies yet to know. So, yeah.
Okay. Any other items for staff to bring back on this topic? Okay. And then, so yeah, we'll get to work on that, and Eileen and I'll figure out how quickly we can bring that back.
Yes.
Thank
you.
Thanks, Eileen. The second piece of old business is the city attorney recruitment conversation.
Yeah, so council, I wanted to kind of just continue and pick up where we left off for the work session, which, as you know, we primarily discussed the municipal court operations and appropriately so. But we do need to get on with the city attorney recruitment. I too agree with the judge that I think one level of decision is what is the job duties going to entail? And I too agree that to expect, whether it's a firm or someone in-house, to expect them to have a municipal law background and a city prosecutorial background is just, we're not going to find anybody that has that experience. Even the municipal law firms generally tend to focus on municipal law matters. And so I would agree that that we should split those two in half. If I can, David, Barry Elsner and Hammond is willing to continue as the city attorney. Their contract expires this December, so you might think about extending them to give us some more time. It would need to be continued to be serving in this role. I think David, Barry Elsner and Hammond is willing to continue serving as your city attorney. I don't know that David will be your city attorney, or if it might be a new attorney. But my recommendation is that you renew Barry Elsner and Hammond's contract and then take the time necessary to hire someone in-house. So that ultimately we would have an in-house attorney, but we're not rushed trying to find, or, we put out a job announcement and we don't get quite what we're looking for, then we can take the time that we need to advertise appropriately, get the right person on board, and we're covered in having city attorney by extending Barry Elsner's contract. Is that appropriate, David, to where we kind of landed?
I think so, Eileen. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think, just underscoring for the council's benefit, we realize that this is a pretty significant decision for you as to, whether you want to have a city attorney that's an employee and be in-house as you've traditionally done, or move to something more of a contract basis. So however that plays out, and I think, there, not to go over the work session again, at least this portion of it, but there's pros and cons of each, and I would be fully supportive of whatever the council shows in that regard. I think that's a very sort of city by city, jurisdiction by jurisdiction decision. But be that as it may, if until you make that sort of call about whether we're going to stay in house, whether we want to go out for an RFP, we're not going to leave you high and dry. So that is consistent with what we talked about. Absolutely.
Great. Thank you, David.
So really, if you're in agreement, we will go ahead and extend Barry Elsner's contract maybe through March or possibly through June. Let me talk to David about that. That will give us the time. If we have that and a termination provision in there, that if we don't need Barry Elsner and Hammond because we found somebody in the first recruitment, somebody great, then that's then we could terminate the contract. My sense in looking at other cities, we may need the entire 6 months to find somebody. So,
and if to the extent, for what it's worth, I will also just, I guess it would be maybe the third person to sort of weigh in on this piece about the municipal prosecutor or city prosecutor versus city attorney. And I absolutely agree. I think for most people, it may not be obvious, but the duties are, it's a civil law background. That's what we do. And a city prosecutor is really a criminal attorney, and those are very, very different worlds. And we've always said, with clients that we work with, that we make that really clear up front. The firm does, that we don't do municipal prosecutions. We have people that we can recommend. I think there's a lot of people out there, but it's criminal law is a big enough thing to bite off, and certainly municipal law has all sorts of nooks and crannies. So to try to combine those two things and have one person do it, I think you're you're going to have somebody that's what's the aphorism about being really, spread very thin and not very deep. But I would say that that's however you end up, whatever you end up choosing, in-house or having a contract attorney, having somebody act as the civil side and then somebody being a city prosecutor is definitely recommended.
Yeah, I thank you for that, David. I think what we're looking at here is two separate issues. One is we did our work session on was, do we stay whole? Like, do we have our city attorney manage both pieces, or is it just, or we split it? So that's the one piece. The other piece is, are we still having dialogue about whether or not we're going out and recruiting a city attorney, or are we going to stay under or use a firm to represent the city? And my understanding is that still seems to be a debate here amongst the council. And so to me, that seems to be the issue that we are needing to solve here this evening is, are we going out for recruitment? And if so, what do we want to give staff direction on? Am I understanding that, Eileen?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Patton, I'll come to Council President Hensley.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to have to leave the meeting if it's okay.
Oh.
Because I have something I have to get to.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yep. See you later.
So I know at a previous meeting, it was made clear that members of this council would like to see statistics on what the difference is between doing, whether it is contract or in-house, and what those numbers look like. I want to see those numbers. I know what the answer is, and the answer is that doing it in-house is going to be cheaper than contract, because I can guarantee you that we are not asking questions, and this is no offense to you, Mr. Doofman, please rest assured, we are not asking Barry Elsner and Mr. Doofman questions on a day-to-day basis that this city has historically asked its in-house city attorney. Case in point, during the interview process for our new city administrator, anytime there's been a meeting like that, there has been a city attorney present during that executive session. And there wasn't. We had no city attorney, we had no attorney present during that thing. And so if there was a legal question that came up during that period of time, there was nobody to ask. And so for that right there, just proves to me that trying to contract the things that the city needs out is not going to work. But that being said, if people want to see the numbers, I'm totally fine with seeing the numbers before making a decision.
Yeah, I hear that, but if I remember correctly, we're going to be very light in what is going to get reported to us, meaning that it's apples and oranges.
No, I've requested that whatever numbers are presented to us as a council, that I want to see apples to apples comparison of taking an employee that is 80 hours a week, bill that 80 hours over the course of a 2-week period, put those numbers in as if Mr. Doofman is working for us as a full-time employee.
Including benefits and PERS too.
Yep, that's right. And put all that stuff in there. And then you look at what we are currently drawing on that contract for. And I can guarantee you that there is a huge discrepancy of what we are currently utilizing and what we could be utilizing. And for me, the distance between those two things is liability and the city getting sued. And so then you can go ahead and you can figure in how much our insurance rates are going to increase if we do something wrong and we get a lawsuit and our insurance is increased. So you can go ahead and put those numbers in there too.
Did you have something?
I was just saying, basically was going to say the same thing. We're waiting for those numbers. That's kind of what I said.
Councilor Davis.
I agree with Councilor Patton in regards to wanting to see the numbers. I think that's important to see the numbers, and I also agree with the city administrator's recommendation So that gives us time by extending that out until, yeah. So I would support the city administrator's recommendation as long as we're seeing the numbers.
Yeah, I think
Likewise.
doing a 6-month
With an out
chunk at a
clause.
time would be good.
But with an out clause in case we want.
Yeah, we have an out
The escape clause.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Having a termination clause,
Y-
which
y- Client has the right to terminate an attorney at any time for any reason. So we'll write that in. You can write that in for sure. Obviously, no objection to it, but just so you know, ethically speaking, a client can always can the attorney whenever.
I do have a question, actually.
yes, Council President Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm wondering if we do end up recruiting an in-house attorney, are we locked in contractually with the firm that did the search for the administrator? I know we talked about using the same firm, but did we already contract for the attorney position yet?
I had Kevin look at that today. I wish he was still here, but I'm not convinced that you are. I think the council stated its preference, but I don't know that you're, in fact, well, no, can't have David do that. I'm not convinced that you are.
Okay, if we aren't bound by contract to go with them, I would like to discuss that. I was not really pleased with the process, and I don't think Counselor Davis was either. And honestly, I wonder if maybe Kevin couldn't do it in-house. I'd like to discuss the recruitment process. If we decide to go that direction, I don't want to just automatically assume that we're going to use the same consultant.
Okay. Any, yes, no,
I'm not touching that grenade.
what'd you say?
I'm not touching that grenade.
Okay.
I will say that the firm doing it had a very tough job because 2 of the candidates that were going through the process were internal, and that adds a web of layers over top of the process that is very difficult. I will say that the questions that were generated were very lengthy and layered as well. And Shema, I read those questions and I did not key into just how complicated they were. So that's on me. But yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
Well, thank you for jumping on that grenade.
I just barely touched it.
Yeah, well.
Just boop, boop, boop.
So, Eileen, anything, do you have enough from us, or did we just convolute the waters?
No, I have enough.
Okay.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
I generally know where you want to go. We haven't prepared the numbers yet, kind of been preoccupied with a number of things. And we can still do that. I have done this before, compared city attorney, an in-house versus a contract city attorney. I'll tell you, it's going to come down to simply an hourly rate. And an in-house, hiring an in-house attorney is going to be a lower hourly rate, even with benefits. But I'm happy to show you that.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. Discussion regarding the next steps for the city councilor vacancy. Here we go.
Repeat. We just did it with
I
you.
feel like we've been here before.
Yeah, really, a couple times.
Well, and I guess what I'm looking for is timeline. I mean, the process, we'll follow the same process, because that's what it's always been done that way
The same way.
in terms of timeline. What,
My only concern.
when do we want to post it? When do we want to close it? When do we want to do interviews.
Yeah, I'm
And I
just
will, before you
wondering about
chime
the-
in, I do not want to do a repeat of what we did last year. I found that trying to squeeze that in, again, I don't have a say. I'm just making my opinion known. The way we tried to cram it in right there before the holidays, when it's as crazy as it is, I think that it was a lot on staff. It was a lot on us, and I mean that whole process was a lot. So that's just my 2 cents on the matter. So
And are we gonna, historically, we have one meeting in December. Is that gonna be the case this year, or do we have enough to keep us busy?
that's going to be on the agenda for the December, first meeting in December. So that'll be your all's call for canceling the second meeting in December. We didn't last year,
True.
and we added meetings.
Well, yeah, it was a crazy thing to try and cram that in. I would be fine with waiting until January, post it for the 2 weeks, and then do the interviews at the end of the month.
Counselor Patton, thoughts?
Yeah, it's worse for me.
So come back and, okay, so do it at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
The appointment, what I heard you say is go ahead and advertise it now. Do the interviews before the end of the year?
No.
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 Do 'em
Okay.
after the
Advertise
first
it
part of
the
the.
first Monday in January.
Glad I clarified.
Leave it up for 2 weeks.
Counselor
Then-
Davis?
I agree. Hold off till January, advertise now, hold off till January. But the other thing that I'd ask the other counselors to consider would be, can we do the interviews in the work session rather than in a council meeting, so that we have more time to spend with the candidates? Because it seemed like they were kind of rushed, and I'd like to be able to have just a little bit more time, so maybe we could do the interviews in a work session and then come into city council and make a decision.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Counselor Patton?
If memory serves me correctly, in the past, they were never that rushed. In the past, there was a meeting that was designated specifically for this. The process that has been used the last few times, and trust me, I've been through it quite a few times, so I've seen it evolve. The original process was, it was very much a Q&A conversation. It was not this like, so, I mean, having it up here, historically, it has always been the council on the dais and then the candidate being asked questions. Extending that period of time is, I think, totally fair.
If memory serves, didn't we have a jam-packed agenda that night too, though? Yeah, that's why they were kind of rushed.
Yeah.
Because we had something else we had to
We're
get
talking about
to.
the one where.
The one where we
for
did
Daniel.
Daniel Stearns, yeah. So I wouldn't be opposed to starting a little earlier, 6 or 6:30.
But not doing it on and off Wednesday.
It would depend on how packed the agendas are gonna be
And,
for January.
I have a feeling that we're just gonna run into that, and that's the thing. I would not be opposed to doing it in a work session. I think that would be.
Well, we've been doing.
I think that would be better due diligence, honestly. We can talk to them a little bit more. We can get a sense instead of feeling like it is rushed. And I think overall it would just be a better venue for it.
Well, I will say this, as we as a council, and I guess since I lead that, it's on me. We eat up a whole hour for our work session and then some. So and again, it's all going to depend on, who's going to apply and how many we have to interview, et cetera. That's why I suggest doing, an off Wednesday, because then we're open-ended. We're not pressed to get into a city council meeting. And if it's out far enough on the schedule, that's not a problem. Again, we got into the last 2 times, and no.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
We have 5 Wednesdays in January of '24, so Monday is the 1st, so that'd be the holiday, so we would get posted on the 2nd. And conclude, if you're gonna do 2 full week, so it would conclude on the Monday. And then Maya could get them to us by the end of the week. We would have a few days to review the applications, and we could do the interviews on a special meeting on the 24th, and we'd still have the 31st as an off Wednesday.
We're posting it before, we're posting it right away.
Oh, I thought we weren't. I thought we were holding off on advertising it.
No, we can post it anytime. It's
Post
just-
it now.
Oh,
That'll
okay.
give us more time for more applicants.
Right.
Okay, I just misunderstood. I thought we weren't
Yeah,
advertising.
so the deadline would still be before the end of the year, but you would start the interview process in January.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I would rather see us do the interviews on the 10th, January 10th.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that we talk about trying to cancel a meeting in December. Again, that we go back to, how many work sessions do we have queued up?
Well, we don't,
20?
we have
Right?
not.
I mean, we got a lot of stuff that needs to be accomplished.
And I'm not
so-
saying that that's not the case. I'm just saying, I'm gonna put it, it's gonna be on the agenda. If you all decide not to cancel it, then that's fine.
Cancel what?
The second December
20th
meeting.
Oh, yeah. But no, I'm good with it. Good with doing a special thing on the 10th.
Okay, but yeah,
And give them, and and
That
to be
works.
quite honest, so are we closing the window for applicants well before this, or?
I think you could close it before Christmas, for example, and then you just have, and then you wait until the 10th of January. I mean, we will be doing, notification of candidates and all of that stuff, but, and, we could even indicate in the applications that the interviews will be done on January 10th.
Yeah, well, what I would almost like to throw
Any
out there
combination like that.
is, if we really want to give, because some of the, one time when I went through this, there was like 14 candidates. And so it was like a
2-day extravaganza.
a wipeout, course of going through this process, right? So it could be if you get, a bunch of candidates, we'll know well in advance of how many people are there, and maybe we have to split it up over 2 meetings. Do the interviews over 2 meetings in order to give these people a fair shake of applying for this position.
So let me suggest, I'm gonna make a suggestion. So if we post it, in, say, the 18th. Where are we?
Saturday.
We're the,
We
Sorry.
post it tomorrow.
sorry, I was looking the wrong month. So if we posted, again, whatever tweaks we need to do by the end of the week, so Friday,
Mhm.
and we keep it open until the 29th of December, that still gives staff enough time to compile them, get them to us to prepare for a January 10th interview session. We'll start at 6 and depending on, and we'll wrap it up whenever we're done interviewing. If for some reason we have 14 applicants, then I guess we'll look at
they could do
the needs on the
10th and
11th.
Yeah.
So for us, block out the 10th and the 11th. If we don't need the 11th, then you have the gift, we have the gift of time. Thoughts?
Sounds good to me.
Works for me.
Did you get all that, CJ? Okay.
I'm putting it in my calendar now, so I don't forget. That's a long ways away.
Put it on your calendar now.
It's not gonna start at 8 AM, that's for sure.
No, 6 PM.
Okay. Any other pieces on this? Eileen, staff is good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any questions? Okay.
All right, so I will move into mayor's business. Not a whole lot. Clackamas County Coordinating Committee, our last meeting, beginning of the month, we went over the State Transportation Improvement Project list, so the STIP list, which is mostly the metro cities project list. So we started looking at that, and that's gonna be a lot going on with that over the next couple of years. We also looked at, we're starting to formulate the legislative session for the short session here coming up next year. And we've also are looking at the housing numbers in terms of what's being built, how much of the metro bond that was passed, plus the state funding that's been allocated, and what we're starting to see being built within the metro area of Clackamas County. So there's a lot of review, and again, getting ready for the short session coming up. This past Tuesday, that would have been last night, we had a community meeting for our comprehensive plan. So that's still steamrolling along. I think there was a couple of counselors there, and I know a lot of staff was there as well. Was there a lot of people? Good.
Standing room only. They had
Oh,
to go
wow,
in the
good.
hallway.
Yeah, it was very good.
Well, again, I can't stress enough the importance of people turning out for this conversation. We're talking about creating the plan for the city for the next 20 years, 10 to 20 years. And so we have done community meetings on the expanding the UGB, and we've reached out and had meetings with those property owners, which was also well attended. And I think we got a lot of information from that, as well as the meeting last night. So please continue to be engaged, continue to be involved. We need the input. So that's the only piece on that. Light the Night is December 2nd at 6 p.m. Friday night, rain or shine, preferably no rain, but you know, Jerry's guaranteeing. Oh, is it the 1st? Sorry, thanks, Jamie. I don't know why I had the 2nd. It's December 1st, Friday the 1st. And Jerry, do we have a lot of lights?
We have a lot of lights.
Good.
Got a new switch.
Fabulous. Do I dare ask
gonna
about our
work.
sound system?
Sound system's good. Yeah,
Sweet.
you got a volunteer to run it too.
A volunteer. Were they voluntold?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so that's, yeah, that is a premier event for us in Canby, so please mark your calendar for that. And then the several tolling meetings that I had this week were canceled, so that'll probably resume probably beginning of the year. So I will stay, keep you all in tune with that. So, council comments and liaison reports, and we'll start with Chief Davis.
Thanks, Mayor. First of all, I did attend the first meeting that was held here in regards to the UGB, and that was excellent. Staff did a great job with that. Well attended by citizens and all very positive. And then again last night, we did have standing room only, and they're actually going to do a second meeting because of the amount of people that actually attended that. So they're going to do a repeat for that meeting. So very much appreciate the job staff did on that. It was put together very well, and the consulting firm did an excellent job. So, and I can't stress how positive it was from all the citizens that participated in that. So great job on that. In regards to Park and Rec, we have a meeting. We rescheduled because of the meeting last night to tomorrow night. However, Barry reported to me that they did do the public meeting for Dodge Farm, and it was about 50-50 participants from Dodge, as well as the other community there. Very positive comments. That's going back to the Park and Rec Committee, and Jerry is going to be discussing putting that out to bid with the city administrator, I believe. So more to come on that. So that went very, very well. And I did attend the Adult Center meeting, and they held their annual retreat. I didn't participate in the retreat, but I did attend their normal meeting, and they are moving along well in regards to looking at how are they going to do the remodel, how are they going to create a campaign very similar to the Canby Center in regards to raising more funding for the remodel up at the Adult Center. So Kathy's on top of that, doing a really good job.
Great. Thanks, Chief. Council President Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bob was here, but he left. Traffic Safety Commission heard some citizen issues. There was 3 different folks that showed up. So just wanted to, what they tend to do is go through, they noodle it for a while and then they bring it up at the next meeting. So they don't like hash out the issue and try to brainstorm ideas right then and there. So those items will be on next month's agenda. But I just wanted to remind people out there in TV land that if you have an issue with traffic safety in your neighborhood, that you are always welcome to either email Bob or just come to the Traffic Safety Commission meetings. They're on the second Wednesday of the month at the Public Works Department at 8:30 in the morning. And that is all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Counselor Maldonado. Okay, sir. Counselor Patton.
So I did not get a chance to go to the Canby utility meeting last night because I attended the comp plan summit. It was very interesting. You could tell that the consulting crew and the city staff did a fantastic job of herding all of the cats. What was fascinating was the last time they did that meeting, there was 27 folks and there was quite a bit more. And the read that I got from the room was the word is out as to what we are doing and people are starting to pay attention to all of this stuff. I think the read that I get is that city staff and the firm was maybe a little concerned about the amount of involvement that we had in the process up to this point. And I think now that that we're at this stage, we're going to start to see some more. I would say that probably a third of the people at the event last night were there for the map exercise, and the rest of the people really wanted a meeting that was, what's the deal? These are my concerns. What are you doing to stop it? So I have a feeling that there's going to be some pivoting, and those meetings are going to convene in order to get people's questions answered. So it was great, and I also attended the landowner meeting here, which was also well attended, as commented by the firm that's working with us, and they explained that there will probably be another one of those meetings as well. It is imperative that everybody understand that there is nothing to hide here, that this is a very important thing, and we want to get as much information from the citizens of this city as possible so that we can control our destiny as much as possible. And only by participating in this process are we able to do that. As a follow-up, a question that I had at our last meeting, we were talking about this was, and this is a note for staff as a follow-up thing. I had a question about if we don't go through this process and lay out our expectations of what we would like with the state, what is the consequences? Does the state then just tell us where those lines are going to be? Is there a penalty for not doing this process and increasing our urban growth boundary? I'm still hoping to hear what that impact would be. So that was it for that. Another thing I just wanted to bring up. Oh, sorry. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that question. If we don't do the urban growth boundary process, is that what you're wondering?
Yeah, because the state requires us to do it every 20 years.
Right.
And so if it's not done, clearly there is a law in place to say you have to have 20 years of buildable land. We don't. And so at what point in time does the state then say, because you have not done this thing, this is the way we are penalizing you to push you to do the thing? So that is what I'm hoping to get an answer on, is what does that look like, if that makes sense.
I want to make sure I got the question right.
Okay. I know I can talk in circles, and so I apologize. You just have to hit me over the head, not literally, but or if not, yeah. Anyways, another thing I wanted to bring up, and it's actually been brought up again, is I hear a lot about concerns regarding the hybrid work schedule that the city has for various employees. And I've advocated for a hybrid work schedule. I am a person who has worked from home solely for 20 years, and it works very well for me. My concern is that, and this is what it comes down to. The other day I was having a conversation with a citizen and they were explaining to me the concerns that they have about hybrid work schedule and how people call the city and they can't get a hold of people and all of this stuff. And I said, okay, I understand. I've heard this a lot. What is the instance where you have contacted the city and you have been unable to get a hold of somebody or get a call back from somebody at the city to answer your question? And they were not able to give me a specific scenario. I then asked if there was a specific person that they have tried to call and run into this problem, and they could not give me a specific person. So this is what I would like to see. And I know I'm curious as to how granular we can get with this data. So what I would like to know is, of the total number of city employees that the city has working for it, how many of those employees are on a hybrid work schedule? Of those employees that are on a hybrid work schedule, how many days are they allowed to work in a hybrid model? And of those days and those employees, how many of them utilize every day of that hybrid model? And finally, of those employees that have a hybrid work schedule, how many of them are direct contact with citizens? And how many are support to other people that work within the city or would not have direct contact with citizens if they were to show up at City Hall or physically show up to City Hall? Because if they call, those phones can obviously be forwarded and that stuff can be transitioned to a hybrid work to someone at home. But as far as people who would come in and physically talk to somebody, how many of those people are allowed a hybrid work schedule? I think that my suspicion is that once we start to peel back these layers, well, I'm not going to say what my suspicion is. I'm curious to see what that data looks like. And then I would really like to hear, why this is such a problem. So that's that. Thank you.
Councilor Patton, can you articulate for me, and maybe I missed it, so I apologize. Why are you asking for this information from staff?
Because I want to see the numbers. To me, when I hear people talk about the problems that are created from the hybrid work model that staff is working, you would think that when you come by City Hall, like the windows are smashed out and nobody's here to handle anybody's questions, that people wait in line for hours waiting to hear back from people, and that the city is squandering money away on employees that are sitting at home, in front of their computer eating bonbons and sipping on, mimosas. And I'm sick and tired of hearing it. So I want to see actual data of how many people this impacts and what that looks like. Because when I have a conversation with a citizen who comes to me and is making these allegations, I want to have firm data to say, okay, I hear where you're coming from, but this is the actual facts. This is the actual data of what this looks like. So please explain to me how this is the most pertinent thing that the city is going through right now.
Well, and I guess that's why I asked that question. I mean, we just, are talking about the amount of work sessions that we have and all the number, other data points and information we're gathering, and now we're asking staff to do something like this.
Yep.
And I frankly, I don't agree that we
That's
should
fine.
be asking them. That's okay.
I mean, you yourself sent me a text the other day saying, here is this thing about hybrid work.
Yeah.
Right? And it included many of the same tropes that essentially discredit how hybrid work actually works.
No, and that's why I sent it.
Yeah, and I disagree with many of them because there is data to show the opposite. So that is why I want to see the actual data from the city of Canby and how it is impacting this city, so that when I am trying to defend the system that we have in place, I can do it. And if the data proves that those folks are right, then I will gladly say, holy crap, you're right. This is a mess. We need to fix it.
So why are we as a policy body going down this path of a staff?
The reason I'm
correction
requesting,
piece?
the reason I am not trying to influence the policy. I am trying to, it is my job as a city councilor to provide information to the citizens of this community that are concerned about the way that their money is being spent. Taxpayer money is spent on the employees of the city, and if their concern is that that money is not being spent right because there is a hybrid work model, I need to be able to say, you are correct, there is a problem, this is the data that proves it. Eileen, you are the city administrator, or will be the city administrator, depending on what happens. It is your job to now fix this problem. If the data comes back to say it's not a problem, then I want to be able to say to someone who comes up to me and says that it's a problem, we've done the data, we've run the numbers. It's really not that big of a problem. What we got a problem with is the fact that you need a canoe to get down the alleyways to get to businesses. So let's not talk about this hybrid work thing anymore. Let's put that to bed, and let's talk about parking the canoes and actually get those alleys paved. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Question, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just asking this question because I don't know, so I'm going to lean on you guys that have been on the council for a while, but isn't it the procedure that at least 2 counselors have to request additional information for staff time to happen?
Well, I mean,
I thought that was for a meeting.
well, more in the bylaws and charter, it's,
yeah,
it's
because
more of a requesting, there should be 2 that request a meeting.
Right, a meeting. Well, but this is, I appreciate Jason's recommendation, but I see this as the city administrator's business. And that's going to take quite a bit of time to put all that information together. I'm better off with, if I hear a complaint from a citizen, calling up Eileen and saying, hey, this is what I heard, and bringing it to the attention of the city administrator.
Okay, well, that's all well and good, but I cannot count on the number of fingers and toes that I have, the times that members of this council have brought up this hybrid work model as being a problem, and that we need to deal with it.
Well, we just had it today.
Yeah, exactly.
Community comments.
So it's either we continue to have this come up as a problem and not know if it really is, or we come to a conclusion that it's a problem or not. And the only way that you're going to do that is to crunch the numbers and show the data. And if you don't do that, then the folks that are standing on this soapbox and railing on about this will continue to do their thing, and I will continue to say that I think you're wrong. I want to put it to bed definitively so that this council and others can move on to other things. And if other counselors don't want to see that data, those counselors that this is clearly a problem for, that makes me wonder just how much of a problem it is for them, or if it's more of a talking point.
Yes, Council President Inslee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I suppose the data would be good to have. I kind of am a little reluctant to spend staff time on it, but I can understand Councilor Patton's point, but that really only gives us part of the picture. So if you're going to be getting data, you also need to take a temperature of staff morale and people who don't feel that it's fair that they have colleagues that are working from home when they can't, or totally can't, or have a job that, Jerry can't fill a pothole from his couch, so he can't really work remotely. Officer Tro, Chief Tro can't arrest somebody, maybe his kid. He can't do his job from home. So you have to take that into consideration too. How many people go to work every day and it's a little less convenient for them to complete their job because of the colleague that's normally sitting next to him isn't there. They're at home that day. So, you gotta take that into consideration as well.
So yes, go for the data or no?
If the majority of the council wants to spend the time, then I'm for that too.
Councilor Maldonado.
You kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. We're asking city to yet again, bring something else put something else onto their plate right now. We've got a lot to go ahead with right now. If this is something that we are going to move forward with and actually get the data, I'd say we put a time frame on it. Instead of doing it so immediately, let's extend it out a little bit, get some time on it. This is not a dire situation. This is not pertinent. It is something that would definitely be helpful to know, but I would not say that this is something that needs to be done immediately.
Eileen, did you have a comment?
I think Counselor Maldonado kind of hit it on the head for me. I'm happy to look at this. I don't think it will take a long time to look at, but I appreciate having the time. So, if I got back to the council in January, for example, as opposed to next week, then I would sure appreciate the time involved to just figure out how to fit this task in with all the other tasks that I have. I think it would be good to know how many, it would be good to know. I don't think it's going to solve the problem of some employees. The nature of their job is that they have to be on the job to fill a pothole or arrest somebody. Other employees, technology has made it possible for them to work remotely. And I think that, not remotely, to work in a hybrid capacity. And there are a number of benefits that accrue to people in those jobs. You can hire you have a better applicant pool if the employees know that there's some chance of hybrid work in that. But as I said before, it's a customer service question. It's not a number of time in the seat. So if we can arrange and make sure that for those employees who do enjoy that privilege of having technological advances, maybe someday Jerry can sit at home and direct the robot to fill the potholes or
There will be
something
one.
like
I
that.
guarantee you,
Someday.
there will
Yeah.
be a pothole robot.
But for the time being, there is, what was I going to say? I lost track when I came up with that. But there are some employees where the nature of work does allow them. And as long as they are reachable somehow, that's most important to me. So.
And I think, honestly, I think Eileen hit it on the head as well. That is a customer service thing. If we're getting enough people complaining about it, obviously there's some customer service issue. If it's just one or two people, yes, I'm sorry, but it's just going to be what it is.
Okay. We thoroughly beat that.
So.
For today.
Right.
Yeah.
But I tell you right now, what I just heard from people is this isn't a priority. But if every meeting I hear people complaining about this hybrid work model, I'm gonna continue to bring it up. Because that leads me to believe that it's a priority.
So if you give me to January, I'm happy to try to figure out.
January, February, I'm fine. I just would like to put this to bed.
All right, moving into city administrator business and staff reports.
Mayor, Council, I don't have anything specific to mention other than if you had any questions on the staff or the monthly reports are in your packet. So did you have any questions at all on any of the monthly reports? Okay, that's all.
Great. Second opportunity for citizen input. Anyone wishes to address the council and opine?
Nobody wants to.
Nobody's running to the table, so we're going to move on. Action review.
You have approved the consent agenda, approved resolution 1398, and are moving forward with posting a city councilor vacancy on November 17th, having it open through December 29th, and doing interviews on January 10th.
Great. Eileen, anything else for the evening?
We do have, thank you. We do have an urban renewal agency meeting still. Yes, we do.
We're not quite done.
Nope.
At least this body is not quite done. Well, perfect. I will take a motion to adjourn this meeting so we can go to our next one.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
I.
Anyone opposed? Canby, we are adjourning our city council meeting. We will move into an urban renewal district meeting here shortly. Have a wonderful and safe Thanksgiving, all of you. Good night.
Oh, we're recording.
Okay. All right. We're coming back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good evening and welcome to the Canby Urban Renewal Agency meeting for November 15th, 2023. We have a couple of things here on our agenda to talk about. I will dispense with, or we'll carry over the opening ceremonies from the city council meeting, and we will move into citizen input and community announcements, which I don't think we have any. No. Great. I will move into the consent agenda. Somebody make a motion, please, on that.
Mr. Vice Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda that includes the minutes of the June 7th, 2023 Urban Renewal Agency work session and the minutes of the May 3rd, 2023, May 17th, 2023, and June 21st, 2023 Urban Renewal Agency meetings.
Second.
Fantastic. Motion's been made by Commissioner Hensley, and seconded by Commissioner Patton to approve the consent agenda, which include the minutes from the May 3rd, 2023 and the May 7th, 2023 Urban Renewal Agency meeting, the minutes from the June 7th Urban Renewal Agency work session, and the minutes of the June 21st, 2023 Urban Renewal Agency meeting. Any discussion or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions?
I should probably abstain because I wasn't there.
I think that's a good call.
I'm gonna abstain.
And I am a yay as well. Okay. 601, that passes. New business.
Mr. Vice Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move to nominate Commissioner Hensley to, as chair.
Can I get to that piece of the agenda?
Yes, sure.
Sure, thanks. Item 4 this evening is new business. And under there, we have the selection of a new chair. Councilor Maldonado, did you have something you want to say?
I do, I think. I move to nominate Commissioner Hensley as chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Maldonado. I accept that nomination.
Okay, so we have a motion for Commissioner Hensley. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any other nominations? Okay. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, the motion on the table is to appoint Councilor or Commissioner, Hensley,
We don't have these
to
meetings
the,
often
I know,
enough.
to the chair of the Urban Renewal District. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 6-0. Next up on the agenda under new business is the congratulations. I guess now you get to take over the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Okay, next up on the agenda is project and budget update. Eileen?
Great. Let me just get there. Commission, this is a continuation of the discussion that the council just had regarding ARPA, regarding the ARPA projects. So this is just to refresh the council's, the commission's choices on urban renewal spending. So if we can advance the slides. keep going, yeah. So capital projects, so the purpose of this presentation is to review the current list of urban renewal district capital projects and consider the logging bridge project and prioritize that in relation to existing project lists. You may not choose to change your mind, but we wanted to give you, again, there is some funding for this logging bridge project, albeit not enough. But there is some urban renewal money that has been designated for this project as well. So if you'll advance to the next slide. So this is what is in the budget so far. You have $150,000 in this fiscal year, 1.14 million in next fiscal year for the logging bridge, and 9 alleyways. And then in the third of the fiscal years, $90,000 for miscellaneous. It's kind of a balancing figure. 195 for 3 additional alleys. First Street redevelopment for 320,000, and Northwest Second Avenue from Fur to Elm redevelopment in that third year. The soonest that I know some of you have expressed an interest in knowing, when the urban renewal district could be closed. We have 3 more years of debt service payments. So the earliest the district could be closed is 2026. That's why these amounts go out for 3 years. Of the total urban renewal capital projects, those 3 subcategories total up to $2.3 million. Of that amount, 100,000 roughly, not quite 100,000, has been spent on the community park already. And so unspent urban renewal dollars is still $2.2 million. So the projects that are reflected here are those that the commission has made in the past. We wanted to do alleyways. We wanted to do the redevelopment of First Street and Northwest Second Avenue. So those projects are still there, shown there as priority projects. And as I mentioned, the logging bridge is there as well. So it was my hope that that between urban renewal dollars and ARPA dollars that we would have funding to do the logging bridge. But given what we told the council a little while ago, if you choose to fund the bridge with ARPA dollars, if the council chose to fund the project with ARPA dollars, that leaves less general fund balance available, essentially. So that's not quite the case in this instance. You still have 561,000 plus 90 if you wanted to designate that 90 towards the logging bridge. But that doesn't give much, as you heard Jerry before tell you, option 1, the lowest level of improvement of the logging bridge is 1.2 million. So we're not quite there yet. So that's what I wanted to just set up for you tonight. Ask you, do you still, you heard testimony from the gentleman at the, the city council heard testimony from the gentleman at the just passed meeting about get out there and do alleyway improvement projects. So I thought that might influence your decision here tonight. Do you want to continue to do 12 alleys, and do you want to continue to do First Street and Northwest Second, or do you want to reprioritize this money somehow so that you could do the logging bridge? So that's really the essence tonight. Did I cover it all? Okay.
Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Maldonado.
Thank you. Yeah. Are we comfortable with these amounts? Are these amounts old bids for doing the alleyways, or are we comfortable that these with cost of everything going up.
The alleyways, I'm comfortable with the prices on, but First Street, First to Second could vary a little, and the Northwest Second from the Elm could go up. But Commissioner Davis, these are projects that could be scaled back, like, and take stuff away if they did go over budget. Like we could just do some paving, maybe do ADA ramps and some diagonal parking. But to answer your question is I would be concerned at waiting, going out to 2026, they're going to be more money. We know that, unless something drastic changed. If we went into a recession where people were hungry for work, those could be realistic prices. But if it continues, they could be higher.
Okay, based on what I heard tonight, you know, I'd like to see the alleyways as a priority. And start and identify what you feel the priorities are, so we don't go over budget. So if something else has to be cut, that we cut it after we do the priority projects that the council agrees on.
Commissioner Davis, on the nice thing about the alleys is what I would do is you guys would set a number that you wanted to spend. I would put it in with my street maintenance fee projects through that RFP process. And then we'd have so much money and we'd do so many alleys what it came in. So if you got good pricing, you could do maybe all of them. If it was high year where paving was high, you might do 10 of them or something. So does that kind of make sense what I'm saying there? That's a good, the alleys are a good project for this.
Sure. I'm interested in how the rest of the Urban Renewal Agency feels about this too.
Commissioner Maldonado.
You know, I was gonna ask him the same thing, and you had kind of touched base on a little bit, how much fat can we trim off of that?
Off of alleyways or off
The
of
alleyways.
like the alleyways could be, I gave that number of $60,000 an alley because some of them I can just go out and overlay. 65,000,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay.
65,000, because some of the alleyways I can just go and overlay.
Yeah.
And they're easy because they don't have the canoe issue, as Councilor Patton put. The bigger problem ones are gonna take storm system and stuff, so they might be more money. So what we would do is if you guys allocated, say you wanted to do $500,000 worth of alleys or whatever, we would do engineer estimates at that time and put together a scope of work, put it out to bid, and then do that at that time.
Would it be feasible to put it into more of a prioritized list?
Yeah, I mean, I have kind of a list that I would like to do just because of what one of you was saying about how when they get so bad, it gets so expensive to
Yeah.
reconstruction base and all that stuff.
And not only that, once we start getting freeze, it's just gonna go, it get even worse, so.
Yeah, and
I would like to see which ones would be more dire, more in need directly, and which ones we can hold off on.
Commissioner, you're talking about just the alleyway
Correct.
projects. Okay.
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
yeah, the basically, just to answer your question without going into a whole bunch of work in it, is this, the worst alleys start in our downtown core, like between second, third, and fourth, and then go out. And that's where we would want to start, is down there where you got people leaving restaurants after dark and walking through and areas where where you can fall down and get hurt. And Mr. Daniel was here, Godfrey was here, and like his is a perfect example of where there's big potholes and someone could trip. And the other thing with this alley stuff too is the way the prices come in with it, if we determine to do that, I even threw a little bit in there for that price includes hopefully some street lighting in them so that it would connect. But we could start with like what you're saying on just taking stuff away. The basics are pretty easy and we could build up depending on how prices are at the time when we go to do alleyways.
Counselor Stearns has had his hand raised and now.
Commissioner?
Oh, hey. But this is my first meeting, so
dumb question.
so these are going to be dumb questions. But and sometimes I ask questions to see whether things are possible, not because I want to do them, but just so I understand this correctly. The $2.2 million is funds that have already been You already sold the bonds and that's money in the bank right now that we have. Is that correct?
I'm gonna let Eric explain urban renewal.
Well, I mean, I kind of get the idea of urban renewal, but I'm just saying is that, do we have, if, the crux of my question is, and not that I'm in favor of it, but what would happen if we just didn't spend that money at all? And I just want that question, what if?
The money's not all sitting in the bank. The way it works is like the urban renewal gets about $4 million a year in tax money, maybe up to 5, somewhere in that zone. Sorry, I don't have the info right in front of me. And the debt payment is about 4 million. So the difference between the revenue coming in and the debt payment is how much is being spent on projects.
Can the debt service be accelerated or?
No.
Okay, so you're basically, you're getting the money out from the tax money and tax money minus the debt service, and you really can't do anything to accelerate the debt payment. You can, in theory, throw it into a bank account and then pay off the debt later or something like that, but, or, I don't know. That's my first question is, do we have to spend that money? And
to answer the debt question, the debt payments are like $4 million, and you can see that there's only $2.2 million in the next 3 years of capital projects. And there's maybe another 500,000 or 700,000 in other expenditures. So even if you didn't have any expenditures in the URD, you could not make a debt payment 1 year sooner than the way it's set up right now.
Okay, and they're all annual kind of debts. Okay,
Yeah.
that's just kind of for my education, I guess, and maybe for anybody who wants to watch this on TV. So that's the one question. So and just in my mind, sort of looking at these figures, my understanding of the urban renewal district is that it's supposed to be used for improvements and capital projects, and not that I'm opposed to
Within the
this.
boundaries of the urban renewal.
Yeah, within of the district, yeah. And I'm not necessarily saying this because I'm opposed to it, but it looks to me that maybe the alleyways are sort of maintenance issues. And maybe in a perfect world, it would come out of, regular street maintenance funds. And so, I'm not saying I'm gonna be opposed to this, but I'm just thinking in my mind, as I look at this, it would be better, because by using the urban renewal funds for maintenance purposes, then we're kind of setting up a dependency in the budget long-term for using non-maintenance fees solutions to maintenance, to regular reoccurring, maintenance problems. And so that's kind of my, I guess, an observation more than a, if I understand it right. Because my first thing was, what if we just change the balance sheet a little bit, but
Okay, in theory, I would agree with you about the maintenance. However, in this instance, I think Jerry would agree with me that this is beyond maintenance. They're so broken now that they would actually qualify as blight, would they not?
Well,
and it's the safety factor. So I mean, because they haven't been maintained, we have a major project to do. I would agree with you that we would want to use maintenance, use this for maintenance money. But I think once we got them up to snuff again, the street fees could maintain them from then on out.
Kind of having an emergency that's created. And I know what they're talking about. I walk those things all the time, so I know.
Well, don't break a leg.
I haven't tripped yet, but there's probably people that are less than I am that could trip. And then, of course, the question, which probably won't be answered here, and I don't need it, but I just want to raise the question, is how did they get that bad? And as a policy, just is to make sure maintenance done. I mean, maybe there's lack of money. I mean, what?
I can answer how they got that bad. When I started in 2004, we had a $60,000 paving budget, and my supervisor would stop us mid-street when we hit there, and that was it. And so we would get complaints, and all the alleys were gravel, and so we would go and just pull 2-inch overlay over an alley and not do anything, just because the garbage trucks run it, the potholes would get so bad. So some of them have base rock under them because they've been added to for so long, but we weren't able to address the storm water issues. We just paved over it in the puddles. So when you're running garbage trucks over that with that standing water, they just they
Yeah,
fell
I
apart. and
understand that
They've
there's no
just been
base
neglected.
on there, yeah.
We've just been putting lipstick on them.
Okay. No, okay, so yeah, I'm just trying to
Yeah, no, these are
understand.
good questions.
Because I like,
yeah.
I just like I don't like the city to become addicted to capital improvement items for maintenance. And maybe this is a capital improvement now, but I want to make sure that other streets don't end up becoming capital maintenance issues because they're neglecting the the maintenance issues. I mean, I know the rain and I know a little bit about engineering enough to know, why, things that aren't sealed get turned into potholes, but yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Patton.
Yeah, so I guess the way I look at this is, and I know that some of my fellow commissioners will disagree with me when I say this, but the urban renewal district is an opportunity for the city to make improvements that we can't otherwise make from our general fund. And that really is one of its main purposes. I know that there is a lot of people that want to see that logging road or the logging road bridge dealt with. And I think if we had a positive outcome with funding the logging road with ARPA funds, it would make sense to, I would push for that logging bridge expense here. But, I really would like to prioritize the infrastructure parts of this, the alleys, First Street and Northwest Second Avenue. Because as I said earlier, these roads are not going to get any cheaper. And we have spent the money that will come in from the urban renewal district when it sunsets 3 times over. And so if we don't capitalize on this now, they will never get fixed. Not in my lifetime, probably. Because one of the other things, Commissioner Stearns, that we have to deal with when we put our city council hats on is that the reason these roads have become like this is because the city does not have enough funds coming in to address all of the road maintenance issues that we have. That's why we have a street maintenance fee, and it has not been updated for over a decade. So the $5 that we charge now, that we started charging back in 2009, is now worth $2.50. And so now we are starting to go backwards on the value of that project.
Yeah.
So is it possible to say, hey, we want to deal with as many alleyways as possible. Here's the amount that we're going to put towards alleyways. See how many we get done. And then in the next year say, okay, well, we were able to get this many done with this much money. Now for fiscal year 2025, we're going to put, X amount of money towards them again and see how many more we get done. And then just each year put out to bid as much of the road stuff as we can until the thing sunsets. To me, I know that some people don't want to spend any of the money. I want to spend all the money. I'm hoping for a compromise so that we can capitalize on what we have here to try and fix some of this problems.
Okay. Jamie, did you have something, you were up here earlier, did you have something you wanted to offer?
Just wanted to help to provide some context about the urban renewal programming, and when it was set up, there were goals set in place. There's 4 different goals, and I won't read them all to you, but I will make sure that tomorrow I send the 4 goals out just as a refresher, especially in context of this conversation. But one of the goals is to maintain effective, efficient, and safe traffic systems for vehicular and pedestrian users. And one of the things that I think, is important in context of the alleyways, and especially with Mr. Godfrey coming to speak during the city council meeting, is that I don't remember who exactly said it, but people do use the alleyways obviously to get throughout town. And Canby's downtown is continuing to develop. We're going to see the beer library, in the next several months come to fruition. And so it feels to me that, that those alleyways, while they're utilized now, as Canby continues to develop, people are going to be using them more. So I just wanted to provide a little context with the goals. And I'll send that out tomorrow just to make sure that everybody has that, for these kinds of conversations.
Okay.
And then one item, and our finance director could speak more to this, but just to keep in mind when we're talking about prioritizing the funding for these projects, that one of the reasons that it is broken out the way that it is it's based on the amount of money that we would be having come in at that time. So alleyways could be prioritized, but we would have to wait until the funding was available, which looks to be 2025.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Maldonado.
One more question. So I know that we spoke earlier that this was the logging bridge project was more of a beautification. At what point does it stop becoming a beautification and lean more into maintenance of it?
Now.
You know, right now, when we had HHPR, the consultant looking at it, we didn't get into the that aspects. It gets inspected and rated from ODOT every year on the structure of it, and no one's seen anything where there's deficiencies on the bridge yet.
Okay.
And I would have to look into that on like how many years are we gonna have before we have problems with that or anything. I have not looked into that.
Yeah, I think that's my main concern there is, are we gonna wait until we let them tell us, oh, there's a problem now?
Yeah, like.
Or are we gonna try to go before?
It is an
now?
emergency road for fire. We want to keep it upgraded for that type of stuff. And then I guess if it ever became to that type of a situation, then does it quit being a park and out of the general fund, and does it become a street?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's something that I think Eileen and Jamie and I talked about also, was that on changing it and getting it out of the general fund and getting it into something where we could, that's a bigger question. That's a bigger topic that I don't want to go down today, but a rabbit hole. But looking at him, my wheels are turning.
I feel it.
And I don't want this project to die because it's important, but I am getting more and more into the beautification of things, but the structure of it is what really does concern me. Rusting, the concrete, having problems. We need to keep that bridge so that we can use it. That might be our only way of getting over the tracks in an instance like the ice storm when the power lines fell over the train and there was no way to get across there. That was only
So realistically, right now, we're looking at two issues that are actually needing attention. We are looking at alleyways that could potentially be hazardous, and we are looking at a logging bridge that is now at its beginning stage of deterioration, is from what I'm gathering.
Everything needs maintenance, you know that as
Yeah.
well as I do, and so it's something to be looking into. And
Every day I look in the mirror, I know, trust me.
yeah. The other thing to go off of what Jamie was saying with the alleyways, where we kind of got the ideas, I was with Jamie years ago looking at, I don't know, some downtown businesses or something like that. And it's like, I instantly tuned in, like, how do they have such nice alleys in Woodburn?
Yeah.
What is going on here? I'm jealous. And I believe they used urban renewal funds for that. And it's like, wow, this is impressive. And then I had that big concern. I want to fix alleys, but I got Commissioner Padden here, who keeps a close eye on me, what we do with street maintenance, always has, and I think he always will. And he actually spoke up in our last meeting and said that I could use street maintenance fee for alleys. I know that you're not the deciding factor on that, but I really like you said that on the record. But the biggest thing about the alleys for me is, you know, Commissioner Davis was talking about, are these accurate numbers? Absolutely not. We all know they're not. We can't forecast that. We're trying. We need to double it, triple it, and then times it by 2, you know, to do anything anymore. The alleys is a clean project for public works to be able to throw in with street maintenance, put it out there, see what we got prices, and you do this many alleys and you take priorities and you do the worst to best and you just keep at it. That's why it's an attractive project for public works. And you get good prices because we're just throwing it in with actual paving so we can use that pavement. Just like fire, school district, everyone wants to piggyback with the city on that, and we just keep getting better prices by doing bigger projects and paving. So that's why I like it. I maybe won't let you down as bad as all these other projects when we do them, because they're so far over budget.
First Commissioner Davis and then Commissioner Patton.
Just a question around the $90,000 for miscellaneous projects. Do we have any idea what that's for?
I was wondering that too.
Miscellaneous projects.
Yeah. Well, Eric's.
Says it
It's
right there.
I love miscellaneous
I
categories.
love miscellaneous.
We could call it potpourri projects.
Potpourri.
Potpourri projects? Is that what you
A
said?
plethora of potpourri.
Kind of like on Jeopardy, right?
So like I was saying before, we get property tax revenue and then we have the debt payments, right? And then the rest of it, the rest of the expenditures are funding the economic development program. There's beautification and some other stuff. And then what's listed right there, the real projects, the alley, First Street and Northwest Second. And then to zero out the maximum indebtedness in this last year, there was $90,000 left. So I just put a miscellaneous projects line in there and put the 90,000 in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
That really
that's
is-
helpful. So the
yeah.
$90,000 could be moved to alleyways or bridge or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I wanted to add one more thing, which I hope I'm not out of line on it, but I think Commissioner Hensley, you'll be on board with it. The American Legion and that area on First Street has been a constant concern of ours. And I think you have been contacted, we've been contacted many, and that's why it got in there, because we ran out of funding on First Avenue, so we stopped mid-block on those. And if you go over to the Legion, they've done some of their work with what they've had money to do, but we threw that in there because there is some major trip hazards and safety hazards on it, which you take the 400 and the 320, you put them together, you could probably do a really neat project and clean up that First Street over there in that area. Everything else downtown is pretty good. The alleys and then that street.
Get rid of that ditch.
That ditch, it's
Yeah,
where
it's uneven.
they get out of their cars and
We broke his shoulder.
they don't see it, they broke their shoulder. I had a personal friend that really got hurt there bad too, but the sidewalks are on business, they're the business owner's property, but they don't seem to have funding to do it. And so we threw that project in there because it was in the urban rural district and it's around our downtown core we haven't finished going over, but that's why that's in there. So I wanted to just mention that again.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Commissioner Patton.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Jerry was saying, and this is a conversation that Jerry and I were having some time ago about these alleys. As when I was on the planning commission, there are developments and housing developments and stuff, and as we get into our comprehensive plan update and updating the codes, the city of Canby really doesn't have codes or standards around building an alley and what it should look like for drainage and pitch and all that other stuff.
Yep.
And so one of the conversations that Jerry and I had was, wouldn't it be great to use these alley projects as a way to define those standards so that when a developer wants to put in an alley, we can actually say, this is how we want it to look like, because we know that it works and this is where it's located. So that is another reason why I'm for prioritizing the alley projects. I would prefer they not come out of street maintenance fee money because I want that done where people are seeing it. But if that's the only way, or like a 50-50 split or something along those lines. But yeah, that's another snippet of information that might help you folks as far as understanding why the alleyways might be a priority.
Commissioner Davis.
Do we know exactly is that the cost for the bridge just to paint it?
That's not even that.
No, that's what we kind of had left. That's what we had that year to put towards it in hopes maybe we could take some ARPA funds and throw at it. It would give us a little bit more stuff we could bring forward for you guys to look at to do the bridge. Eileen, am I?
Correct.
Okay.
Wasn't it like $1.25 million?
We were hoping that the ARPA fund money and that would give us enough to paint the bridge, that 561.
Okay.
Or maybe add the path going down. I know Councilor Bangs was really passionate about getting connectivity to the sidewalk below for Fred Meyer's people.
Yeah.
Access Fred Meyer's.
Okay. Well, again, my priority would be doing the alleyways, doing the Second Street and First Street, and then the bridge, and using some of the ARPA funds for getting that bridge painted, because I'm concerned about the rust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, getting that thing painted, you know, because if we continue to let it rust, then we will have a problem.
We will.
You know, so that's what my priority would be.
And I would say with the painting, this time, make sure that in the contract, if that paint comes off within the first year of it being painted, they have to paint the whole thing all over again. Because didn't the last time it was get painted, within a matter of a year or so, it started to peel?
It was right away.
Ridiculous.
Yep.
I'm still agitated, and I wasn't even on council at that point in time. So we need to make sure that there is a
Absolutely.
suicide pact made with them folks, that they need to get in there and repaint that whole thing, not just patch it, the whole thing.
Just a redo. I would concur. Do you have any thoughts, Vice Chair Hudson? You've been kind of quiet.
There's not much to really say. I mean, we're getting down to the end here, so there's a little bit of, just kind of plug and play right now. I am disappointed that the logging bridge kept getting bumped down the list over the years. It is sightly. I don't think it brings a lot of, is not an attractive piece coming into Canby, especially on the, that part of town. So, yeah, I mean, 560,000 doesn't even touch it.
Well,
And if we're looking at pulling from ARPA funds, what's the sacrifice
well, if we
which
say
it sounds like to me, we're impacting, it's a little bit of a, robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's gonna impact our general fund. Council Patton brought up,
That is the
what's
case.
that level of, what's the reserve? What's a good reserve? I mean, 30%, that's a lot. 15%, that makes me a little queasy, just makes me a little uneasy, because we don't know what the next couple of years have, so.
fire and ice
I mean, I'd be okay with being at 20, and then, but where does that pull from?
I'll be honest, Vice Chair Hudson, like, coming back in 25, you guys recommend Eileen to put some ARPA funds and then the 561 in the 25 budget. And then I come back to you and say it's 3 million to paint it. That's a concern, that's, right, Eric? I mean, this is what he keeps getting on me about it. We have to have accurate estimates because we keep letting you guys down on this stuff because it's so hard to. And so that would be my only concern on the painting the bridge, is that be aware of that, because we're forecasting out a ways here on all these projects.
We are. The other factor to keep in mind is that ARPA dollars must be obligated by December of 2024.
So we'd have to have that.
So you can't do a project in 25.
If you had it started and allocated, the project underway, that's 24, 25. So
Go ahead, Eric.
we would have to do it in next year's budget cycle and come up with whatever it costs by that time. Hopefully, if we put say we did, if you came up with $1.5 million of ARPA and then 500, we had 2 million. I would hope we could paint the bridge. That's why Eileen was coming up with that original, I think, $2 million was somewhere, 2.1, I think you were having. And I was like, great, we might have safe numbers for painting at 2.1, and hopefully it comes in at 1.2 or something like that, and then you have some money left over, but we haven't been that lucky so far, if that makes sense. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Vice Chair Hodson, I just wanted to pass that on so that.
Nope, I was done.
Commissioner Stearns?
I kind of be at what I was saying earlier. Not really opposed tremendously to much of these expenditures, but what worries me is that I think I deal with a lot of people with getting debt, lots of tax debt and other kinds of debt, and they pay me a lot of money to help them get out of it. And one of the first things I always stress on everything is when you're in a hole, first thing you do is stop digging, and then you can go find funds to pay off the debts or deal with that somehow or other. And what my concern is, it seems like we have costs and needs that are not being met by the normal general revenue things. And although these expenditures will probably be useful and as a short term, and like I said before, I'm not opposed to them, I really think we need to focus a lot on making sure that the city has a sustainable revenues and expenditures so that we don't end up, in 10 years from now, trying to start a new, urban renewal district to take care of problems that, if by all rights, should have been budgeted and planned into the city, the city's forecast. And so, like I say, my big concern isn't so much where any of these dollars go, but the concern is why was there a need? And maybe it's in the past and we can't fix it, but can we make sure that a similar need doesn't show up 5-10 years from now, that has to be patched by essentially taking money from other districts, which is what the urban renewal does. I mean, I want the money we have to be used wisely, but I want to make sure that the need isn't there in the future.
I mean, I would like to see the bridge dealt with. It might be something where we say, okay, for 2025, right now, we're willing to commit to the 585 to put towards alleys. And then we're gonna leave that 561 there until we hear back from city staff with our city council hats on, as to whether we can use some of the money from ARPA to squirrel away, and maybe use some of it to put with that to then do the bridge. It sounds to me like we're not ready to pull the trigger on that yet. We still need some more information, but of this today, that 585 for alleys is something that most of us, I guess, can agree on. To your point, Commissioner Stearns, the problem is that we don't bring in enough tax to pay for all of the services. People want to drive down fantastic streets and stuff, and we don't generate enough tax to pay for it all. And that is unfortunately the situation, that it's been like that ever since I moved to the city, and it's like that in any municipality. And until we somehow generate more funds via a bond or something, personally, I would love to see us do a streets bond where we can get everything brought up to speed and then maintain it through the street maintenance fee for X period of time. But, I don't want citizens coming to my house and dragging me out with pitchforks and torches and, setting my house on fire. So.
But one of the things that I noticed, as from a just strictly financial budgetary math sort of analysis, is that we have these fees that are fixed, and from a financial analysis point of view, that just means that everybody gets a tax break every year as the inflation eats it up. And so, and if only the costs were fixed as well, but they're not. And so I think as a bare minimum, people need to realize that the fees need to be at least pegged to the consumer price index or something to that effect. Otherwise, we'll end up with these massive, I found over time dealing with business that people are usually okay with a small increase every year. But what they get really upset about is a huge increase, and that is forced upon by the lack of the small increases. It makes the big increase necessary, and then Armageddon happens with either. Yeah,
Jerry, we need to get him on the street maintenance fee task force.
He's already hired.
There you go.
It's just financial.
I agree.
Reality. Any fee, and I used to do the same thing with tax credits. The child tax credit's $2,000. Every year, that tax credit gets reduced because it's not subject to inflation, or the worst case scenario is Social Security taxability. That's been the same since 1990. Every year, something that was designed to tax the wealthy is now taxing all the poor people as well. And it's just a reality that cost, inflation has to be factored into every single financial fee and calculation and stuff. Otherwise, it's just the math's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts? Eileen, are you getting what you need, or do you have more
Yeah,
questions for us?
Are we making a
No.
decision? Do we need to make a decision tonight? I feel like we
No.
need to make a decision. I
No,
want to make
you-
a decision. I want to move something forward.
You
It's
could
like,
move to
please, let me move
adjourn.
something forward.
We
You
did,
could
we're
move
moving
to
alleys
adjourn.
forward. We're scrapping the bridge, we're moving alleys
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah,
miscellaneous
I don't know if I would
projects.
say we're scrapping the bridge.
No, we're pretty much
we're
scrapping
setting
it.
it aside. We're setting it aside.
Really? I mean, let's call a spade here. Where's
Well-
the other funds gonna come from between now and 2026?
Well, like I said, if staff comes back to us and says that that the city council can allocate $1.1 million or $1.2 million from ARPA funds of the 2 point some odd million, then this becomes a viable thing again.
Can Eric tell Jason that right now, so that
What?
what Vice Chair Hodson's saying? Because if we take that 1.1 million out of the ARPA funds, can you explain?
It's just gonna reduce the general fund balance.
Correct.
Yeah, I understand that.
He understood.
The money's gonna,
That's the-
it's one big pot, but we need to decide as a council whether we're willing to do that.
Policy that you brought up earlier about how much percentage of fund balance should be in the fund balance, and I know that this year we're under what the
Okay.
what
so
the
that's it.
target is.
Uh-huh.
And at 4 million, so when we had the last meeting, we talked about, I think it was $1.2 million in new ARPA projects that are not in the budget. So that 1.2 million is coming straight out of the fund balance. So that's dropping the 4.2 down to 3. And then we're talking about, and then you're suggesting $1 million or more going to the bridge, which again is coming straight from the fund balance and the general fund.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not saying yes or, I'm not making a suggestion, I'm just.
That's what's
You're
scary,
just giving
Jason.
us the numbers.
Yeah.
Commissioner Patton, that's what scares us as staff and stuff is.
Yeah, well, and to Vice Chair Hodson's point, I don't want to see the bridge cut. I want to see all of
None
it
of us
done.
do.
But I'm telling you right now, the two of us voting on the bridge is not going to get this horse across the finish line.
No, I understand
Not
that.
with this current makeup.
Well, then let me throw another
I'm
wrinkle
being
in there.
very honest with you.
Well, it's, the logging trail is considered a park, is it not?
Correct.
Why don't we ask the council to consider that option?
I would have no problem with it.
Well, yeah, it's a maintenance issue. Hey, I'm just trying to get creative here, y'all. I will gladly take that to the
It's-
park. When,
it's
tomorrow
been
night?
It's been, Vice
Tomorrow
Chair
meeting?
Hodson,
Yeah,
it's been
let's go.
discussed. This has been brought up.
I know it has, because I brought it up.
I know, and I wanted to remind you, but sorry, I'll stand down.
So
I'm not trying to get people fired up. I'm just trying to again,
We have
like,
to deal with this.
we're going in a circle here this evening at 10 o'clock at night. Like, I think the priorities have been set here from what's on this list. Sorry.
well,
Commissioner Maldonado.
No,
No, Eileen
Oh,
has
sorry.
something.
Oh, I thought he had his finger up.
I did, but I.
Okay.
this is just the slide that shows you that, that we have, we have committed ARPA dollars, but we still, of that amount, that's that 1.298 that, that hasn't been paid, that we haven't actually spent. We've committed it, but we haven't actually spent that money yet. So I just wanted to show that. Otherwise, I was going to say, you're not telling us anything new. What I'm hearing is still, in terms of urban renewal, still prioritize the alleyways, still prioritize the Second and First Street area. The third priority is the logging bridge, and we don't have enough money to pay for that project.
We don't have enough money, period, for all of it.
Nobody ever has enough money. The state's out of money, the county's out of money. Commissioner Maldonado, then Vice Chair Hodson.
Eric has.
I know this might be a stupid question. That number for the Logging Trail Bridge, that's through a third-party vendor, correct?
Yeah, it's through, I forget the name of the painting.
What's
company.
stopping us from taking that in-house?
Painting it in-house?
So I'm the director of maintenance for a property management group. I know that it's going to be cheaper to keep it in-house than to have a vendor come in and go, oh, I'm going to do it for this much.
The answer to that is the biggest problem is the state highway and the railroad tracks, a private spur, Union Pacific, and then the ODOT highway. That's what all the expense is of this, isn't the painting the bridge. It's all the traffic control, the flaggers for the trains, kind of like the quiet zone. That's our biggest.
And it's the scaffolding for the train, correct? Because I believe last time it was painted, the city had to spend an absorbent amount of money in a scaffolding that essentially encased the entire area, because if a tiny drop of paint should fall on the train, it could explode. And
Yeah.
so there was like an absorbent amount of
Makes
money that went
perfect
into that.
sense.
If we could pick it up and move it to a different location, the city staff would love to paint that thing.
Yeah.
But where it's at, it really.
So at this point, you're saying that the majority of that cost would be because just scaffolding, traffic control and whatnot, not
Yeah.
actual, not labor and materials.
Nope, and you know what that would cost and what you do. You know what I mean? It's just all of that ODOT and the railroad stuff, the traffic control, all that stuff just is outrageous. Okay.
Gosh, okay.
Someone last night was, someone the other night at the thing there was like, we just need to have them bury the railroad tracks. We can just put it in a ditch. And I'm like, no, you need to just pretend that you cannot do that. Union Pacific. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, no.
Oh, that's not the first meeting I've heard something like that. I had a meeting, they wanted to move the train around town. I was like, yeah. Vice Chair Hodgson?
Okay, so I'll stop being so cantankerous about this bridge thing. And the logging trail is that if we put it at the top of the list for the next urban renewal district, that's the first project that gets done.
I agree.
Wow.
Next urban renewal project, district?
Yeah.
Yep.
Good luck.
Good luck with that one.
He is trying to fire you up.
Okay.
We have no
Interesting.
signal.
Somebody rattled Counselor or Commissioner Davis's chain tonight.
I told him that just now. I said, hold on to your socks, because we as a city have used urban renewal funds well.
Debatable.
Oh, hi, David.
Oh,
I forgot he was still here.
Commissioner Patton, sorry.
Yeah,
I was
no,
like-
I will, I am in the same,
Careful,
canoe in the alley with Vice Chair Hodgson. The urban renewal district has proven itself to be effective, and it has, while the other taxing districts have had to suffer for a period of time, when it sunsets, they will get their money. I am not a fan of extending, I will vehemently oppose extending the urban renewal district, but I can tell you right now that once the urban growth boundary expansion occurs, there is going to be more land out near our industrial park that needs to be improved in order to generate revenue for the city. And I am totally for going through the arduous process of convincing the citizens of Canby to form a new urban renewal district on land that is ready for development, while encompassing some of the land that was developed so that there is a tax base for it, but allowing a majority of the urban renewal district funds to go to those taxing districts that have been patiently waiting. And let them see what that means, so that in 20 years, when the second urban renewal district sunsets, they get that much more money. That is my hope.
Jerry.
I hope you're okay with me saying this, but I do have a recommendation for the bridge. A thought. What if we did Jamie and I did an RFP for this to get a consultant in to give us all these prices, and they're standing by. What if we spent a little bit of that money to just give us a scope of this thing of like, what is the time frame for maintenance? And what is it gonna need so we don't go in the hole on this? And what is a schedule if we spend a little bit of money just giving us more information on what we need to do that bridge for maintenance at least? That wouldn't be expensive. I don't know. Does that interest you? Just to give us a better scope on this, on maybe when we do have to do something to this, because we don't want to get caught with this bridge like you're saying.
Like the alleyways.
Yeah, where we gotta come up with $10 million to do something, and I don't know, that's a thought for something, not, structurally wise at least, because we have them on the payroll. And it's something maybe the city administrator could talk with you guys about some more.
Okay, what does the commission feel about spending a little money on an assessment?
I'd be okay with
That's
that.
the word, thank you.
Yeah, I would definitely be okay with that.
I think that's necessary because the maintenance of the bridge should be part of the city budget. Now, if somebody need to use some of this on that, but reality, anything that needs to be maintained should be part of the city budget. And if we're not budgeting for that, and there's not a funds to budget for that, then that just needs to be dealt with. Either we decide to give it to, maybe the fire department wants to maintain it, I don't know. But the thing is, is
Really
that
picking on Jim
it has,
tonight.
it has to come from somewhere, you know?
Okay,
I think it's definitely a way to get our foot in the door, at least to get to the bridge. We have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere with it.
okay. Well, I think you have consensus that we want like a structural assessment, so we have a amount and a timeline of when maintenance would be expected to be
Right.
done.
That's, especially since
Right.
it's over a highway. I know, fire department asked me, like, what is this thing rated for? That, all that stuff. We could get really good information. We don't want it falling on a state highway or, on tracks causing, the bridge could continue to be the problem that stops our town, because we don't maintain it, so.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
if that happened, then it would become an ODOT issue, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
We'd at least get ODOT's attention.
Jerry will see me out there with a file every morning, filing a little more of the supports off of the Logan Road Bridge. Eat that, ODOT, eat that.
I think ODOT's responsibility is then
Cleaning it up.
but it's not to rebuild.
True, true. I will not do
What
that.
he's saying is that it does enough damage to 99, they'll get out here and fix.
No, ODOT will just toll it.
Yeah.
There we go. You could toll the
Toll the
logging
beginning
bridge.
sound,
Pay
yeah.
for paint. All right, we're
Does
getting
that-
rummy.
Does that help with Council Patton doing something in this meeting?
Move something forward.
We moved something
We did
forward.
move
yeah, I'm
something
good.
And
forward.
we prioritized the alleyways.
Mhm.
And,
We did do something,
okay,
Look at that.
yes.
Check.
Nice.
Love it.
okay. Did we get everything you need for, at least for tonight's meeting, I think?
I did. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Anybody else have anything for the good of the order?
I move to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, Canby.
I'm a nay.
Your name.
Oh,
You get a nay.